us come together and it's alright. That's when you remember who you are. Over there tomorrow when we're alright. That's when we forget just who we are. Make us come together and it's alright. That's when you remember who you are. Remember who you are.
363 regular season matches, over 600 players, 92 teams, 4 skill divisions, all in the search of one title.
These 8 teams have poured their blood, sweat, tears, their very hearts and souls into getting to this point.
The moment we've all been waiting for is finally here.
A journey that's been filled with triumph, with loss, with the anticipated, and with the unexpected.
From dominant performances to nail-biting tiebreakers, and every player putting it all on the line.
We have our underdogs, who've come out of nowhere and taken everyone by surprise. We also have top teams from previous seasons, coming back and looking to rewrite their story. They're now here, hungrier than ever, trying to learn from past defeats and ascend to the throne.
For some, this is a chance to make history. For others, it's to make up for the past. To make up for you're getting so close, but failing to reach it.
4 teams who have constantly fought to be the best in the limelight. 4 teams who have battled through the darkest nights to reach the dawn.
This is it. The final stretch. The battle for the title of champion.
The stakes are high, the competition is fierce. This is where legends are made.
One last gauntlet remains, separating these 8 teams from calling themselves champions.
On August 24th, 2023, the first week of matches happened for the Season 11 Harmony Tier players. And now, as we stand here on December 4th, over 3 months later, we are down from 18 teams to just 2. And today, they will settle it all to become your Harmony Tier champions of the season. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us here today. And it is going to be an absolute banger of a match for us here today. Of course, I'm brought today by the lovely Ashen, and as I've already said, this is going to be a banger of a match. Like, people might say, oh, it's not very spicy when you have number 1 and number 2 seed. The scriptwriters, you could have done a little bit better, but this is exactly what you want. The best 2 teams of the season battling it out at the very end.
Sorry about that. We're off to a great start, but Hunter, I'm super excited for tonight's match. This is the grand finals for Tranquility's Harmony Tiers by our top 1 and 2 seeds of both the playoffs as well as the regular season between Kingpins and Abyss. They have had incredible runs through the regular season, dropping only a couple matches, and same with the playoffs. They've had tremendous runs, not dropping a single match. Last week, we saw their semifinals matches, and they were tough. Abyss went 4-2 to win out their first semifinal, and Kingpins beat out the Galactic Penguins in a 7-map series. And so incredible runs there. I'm sure they're very excited and very proud and confident to get here tonight. But tonight there can only be 2, and there will only be 1 by the end of tonight. Tonight we will crown a champion. And between these 2 top teams, I don't even know which way it's going to go.
It's a complete toss-up at this point. Both these teams have fought tooth and nail to get here. And clearly, based upon these semifinal matches, they really had to fight at the very end to secure that number 1 and number 2 spot. But of course, we have to make sure to give both of these teams their proper dues and look at them properly. So of course, starting out over here, we're going to be talking about the number 1 seed Kingpins. And of course, this team being the #1 seed, they are statistically the best team in the league. If you look through the record, they end up being at a record of 8-2 with that map differential of +20. That is a lot of maps to win, and that is very few to lose. And that's something you don't see often here either. Like, incredibly, it's so rare to see his team do so well, and you might think the 2 losses, oh, that's a blemish. No, it is not, because they have done so fantastic to bounce back from those losses. But of course, we want to look through these players and see the wonderful lineup that Kingpin is going to be running for us here tonight. And honestly, like, this is a banger of a lineup. This is the lineup that we have seen throughout the entire season. It hasn't changed then, and it's not going to change now, as we have Doha and Bard over on the DPS. Vex, they're on the tank. Wise did nothing, and Vig over on the support line. And I cannot say it enough times that this lineup has done amazing things thus far this season, and I imagine they're going to do some great things here tonight as well. But of course, it's nice to talk about these players, but what's even better? Getting the opportunity to hear from them. So we do have a quick little interview for you, as we're going to have a nice little chat real quick, and we're going to be sitting down with Dexatron and Vex, and they're going to have a nice little conversation for you, talk about the season, everything they've kind of gone through, and how they're going to feel going in tonight. So enjoy yourself a little bit and watch this interview.
All right, I am Dextron. I am joined by Kingpins player and Harmony Tier MVP Vig here. Man, hey, congrats on the season so far. Congrats on making it to the grand finals, man. How does that feel?
Feels great, especially growing with this team throughout the season. We've gone through a lot of ups and downs, and I'm glad just until this point we were able to overcome a lot of those obstacles, but still one to go.
Yeah, and that kind of leads right into another question I wanted to ask. I asked your coach before you guys' game with Galactic Penguins, did they think that you guys had peaked yet? And they said no, but they did say that you guys were playing to where they envisioned that you were playing, but they thought there was a little bit more that they could get out of you. Do you still feel like that's the case?
Yeah, 100%. In almost all areas, which makes us a very scary team to deal with. We still have issues that we need to smoothen out with our comms, even some of our play styles and stuff. And if we all line that up on the right day, then we're a very scary team to match up against.
So you guys are going up against Abyss in the grand finals. Well, they provide their own challenges. Is there any sort of respect about seeing them in the grand finals that you have for them?
Yeah, 100%. I played with the majority of them on separate teams in Trank seasons past. I have a lot of respect for Blue Roses, the manager lady as well. Formless has been around the league as well, and then the newcomer, especially Pip. I was very impressed with, and Eternal, of course.
Now, you were named MVP, but I mean, you're only a small part of your entire team. When you look at your team, who do you think really helps you out the most?
It's hard to pin it down in certain areas. I would single out maybe one person that doesn't get enough recognition. Vex gets a lot of recognition, so does Wheezy, and deservedly so. I like to shout out Bard here, because Bard brings a lot of behind-the-scenes comms with our planning, just general awareness, and is just a good mental to lean on when the going gets tough.
And one final question before we let you go here. What would it mean to you to be the Season 11 champions?
It would mean everything. A lot of us, everybody on the team has been in the league multiple seasons. For me, it'd be my first champion, along with many others. For Doha and Bard, it being second championships. For Doha, it'd be 2 consecutive. So we all have different motivations coming into this match, but one end goal is in sight for all of us.
All right, man. I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your night to do this interview. I wish you luck next week against Abyss. But that was Vig, the one of the supports for Kingpins and your Harmony Tier MVP. I have been Dextron, and you guys are going to be in for a great matchup here tonight.
That was awesome to hear from Vig, Harmony Tier's MVP, and also how excited and proud he is of his team, but also showing a lot of respect for his opponents, Abyss. And so we're going to get to learn a little bit more Abyss as well. Similar to Kingpins, they had a tremendous season run through both regular season as well as playoffs. And these teams have actually matched off in the regular season. I believe that was a 3-0 win towards Abyss. So we'll see if Kingpins is going to go for a bit of a revenge story here. But both these teams have incredible rosters and lots of all-star nods as well as role-star nods on both these teams. And now we're going to get to take a look at Abyss's starting lineup and learn more about these players that Vig was just talking about. So over on Tank, we have Pip, who has received a lot of recognition across the entire league for his flexibility and dominance in that position. Also, Eternal stop you on the DPS line, and Ana and Blue Roses on the support line. Now, Formless is typically the starting DPS for Abyss, but unfortunately is not able to make it tonight, so they are playing with a sub, Stop You. So it'll definitely be interesting to see how this team performs with a sub in that hit scan position. But now let's jump over to the interview. We did get a chance to sit down with Blue Roses, our support for Abyss, and learn a little bit more about how she's feeling going into tonight's finals.
All right. So Blue Rose, of course. Would you like to introduce yourself real quick so people who don't know who you are know a little bit about you?
Sure. So, hi, I'm Blue Roses. I am the flex support for Abyss. I've been in Trank for about 3 to 4 seasons now, and happy to be a part of Trank still, fighting for my team right now in the finals.
Yeah, and so your team Abyss, pretty strong team this season. Kind of like was, I wouldn't say a dark horse, especially since you guys just had an unfortunate stage 1 with a little bit of roster transaction issues, but going into the grand finals against Kingpins, you are the only team this season to actually take them down during the regular season. So do you guys think you can pull it off again?
I think us having that under our belt really gives us a little bit of an edge because we have played against Kingpins. They know us, we know them, and definitely really looking forward to that rematch with them. I think it's something that we can, when pushing our team, can take that win home.
Yeah, and looking at both of your guys' play styles, it seems like you guys, from what I've seen, are very versatile. Wrecking Ball, I've seen Reinhardt, like those two I've seen a lot from you guys. Kingpins, of course, they're kind of known for they're kind of known for like the same exact comps, which is kind of funny. But last time you guys faced them was a 3-0. This time, after more experience, do you think it's gonna be a little closer, or do you think it's still gonna be as one-sided as it was before?
I think both of our teams have learned a lot through our stages, and I think it's going to be a lot closer, but I don't think anyone should discount Abyss and our strength coming into this with what we've learned throughout our stage.
Yeah, you guys have looked pretty strong. You made it. You were the 13th seed going into playoffs, and you haven't dropped a match, I believe, since that Kingpins game. Not the Kingpins. You haven't dropped a match since stage 1, since the end of stage 1. If my recollection is correct. And you guys are still trying to keep that streak going. And who do you think is like one of the biggest like bright spots on your team as far as like always positive, never breaks mentally, just always trying to lift the team up?
I would have to say the person on our team that has a really positive mental would be Eternal. Never once have I ever seen him look at a situation, whether we're down in a fight, looking at 0 to 80%. I've never seen him look at that and go, it's impossible. He's always a very positive person, especially when we're scrimming, we're practicing, and when we're playing.
Yeah, and we're just going off the back of that. who would you say on your team is the biggest one to look out, the biggest one to look out for as far as you can flip a fight in a 2v4 situation, or just is always super confident in going into games, no matter if you're backs up against the wall, you're the underdog?
I think what makes us so unique in that is I don't think it's any one player on our team. I feel like we all play for each other. So if a fight's down, whether it's myself and Pip are dead, I feel like Eternal and Ana, their synergy with each other, they're so quick to turning a fight, especially when they're down, they calm so well with one another. Or if Pip and I are still alive in a fight, the two of us can keep one another up and continue that fight forward. So I think that's our strength, is we don't win fights individually, we win them as a team.
Yeah, that's a really great thing to have, strength to have as a team, is all that team coordination, especially since you guys are one of the ball comp teams, I would say, with your team coordination is always on point. But we're gonna wrap up here, so that's all the time I have for you. Thank you for just taking the time to chat a little bit about going into grand finals. Is there anything else you want to say before we send it back to the casters?
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. Just want to say I'm so thankful for my team, and I'm really proud of everything that we've accomplished this season, from where we've started to where we're at now.
All right. Well, thank you, Blue Rose. Thank you, Blue Rose. Good luck in this upcoming game, and we'll send it back to the casters from here.
Thank you.
There's absolutely nothing I love to see more than seeing these two teams and the amount of camaraderie, the amount of passion that they bring, not just for this game, but for each other. That is one of my favorite aspects, not just about Overwatch, but esports in general, is you get to see the lovely friendships that you get to make along the way. It's a very cliche line, but the amount of people that we have both gotten to meet throughout this industry, and all these players, these casters, it's a fantastic thing. But of course, we're getting ready to go into things here. But before we do, normally this is the job of the desk, but it's going to come down to us here, Ashen. I think we should make our own predictions for this matchup here today. So I will go to you first and foremost. Who are you picking between Kingpins and Abyss?
Ooh, that you really asked the tough questions, Hunter, and putting us on the spot, because I know people are going to come after us no matter who we pick. I am going to have to go with Abyss here, and let's say 7 maps, so 4-3 victory for Abyss. How about you, Hunter?
Well, then I have to play the devil's advocate and go the other way. I'm going to be going with Kingpins, and I'm going to predict a 4-2. I'm going to predict that Abyss wins the first 2, and Kingpins will come back all 4 with that sweep afterwards. So one of us is going to be right. We got a 50-50 shot.
That's right. We'll see how this match ends up, but now we're definitely a little bit more invested. As if we could be even more invested than we were before, but I'm so excited for these matches. I think both these teams, even when we were watching the videos, we were seeing how much respect and admiration people had for the other teams, as well as their own team. A lot of recognition to go around. I'm really excited about this tank matchup. I think both of these teams play a lot of very flexible comps, going from that Rhine Brawl to that Sig Brawl we've seen so much of. Also, I think we're going to see a lot of Ball and Far Mercy Dive, which we saw from both teams in their semifinals matches last week. So we will have to see, are teams going to go for the mirror? Are they going to go for more of a counter pick? And we'll have to see who actually comes out on top.
Yep, and it's definitely something we're just going to have to wait and see. But something that we won't have to wait to see for is going to be our first map selection. And of course, Kingpins, being the #1 seed, do get the first selection, and they are going to be taking us over to the wonderful world of Nepal. Now, this is an interesting pick, not necessarily for the team that is picking it, but because this is actually a map choice that I rarely see. You know, obviously we see a lot of teams that have actually gone for something like Samoa due to the fact that it's newer, that they've practiced it more, and they think they can have an advantage for that reason. But Nepal, people have been playing Nepal for the past 7 years. Anyone who's been around this game long enough knows this map in and out, and there's a lot of different things they can run on this map, specifically that Ball and that Pharmacy.
Right. With these 3 different submaps of Nepal, I'm expecting a lot of different comps. We're seeing a preview of Sanctum, and this often we see a lot of poke with those long sight lines. I'm definitely expecting a Far Mercy to come out later on in a submap if we get to it. But I think here teams will go for more of that brawl or poke comp. And now we are getting a preview of what these teams want to run. It looks like Abyss is going more for that Rhine rush with a sim. And so it'll be interesting. I'm imagining they're going to use the advantage of the sim teleport to really close those angles onto Kingpins quickly. Whereas Kingpins is going for more of that SIG classic brawl comp. So they're looking to play a little bit slower as we get into the map.
Yeah, you really want to make sure StopYou manages to build up that beam enough to that level 3 to be able to kind of burn through not only the supports, but especially that Sigma. But for the time being, Pip is going to have to back up a little bit here. Just has to make sure to maintain the shield and especially their health. And point going to unlock here, Kingpins are able to put somebody on that point first. Abyss potentially going to just take the TP, but instead they're just going to run straight forward as well. But that's going to be a knockdown, and Blue Rose is going to be sent off the edge by Vex with that, and now it's just Pip trying to hold the shield at the line for as long as they can, but eventually the damage is going to be too much, and one after another, the rest of Abyss are going to fall. Kingpins gonna start out with that first map win, or first round.
All right, great fight win there by Kingpins. Picking off Blue Roses, the enemy BAP is definitely huge because it's so hard to keep up a Reinhardt without a BAP in your pocket. And so on Abyss, Pip moves over to the SIG, feels like they're struggling a little bit against all of the poke from Kingpins. And StopYou has also moved over to the Bastion. So they're definitely looking to wall a target off and take advantage of this Bastion turret form to output tremendous amounts of damage.
Yep, and now you see the transition through as the Flux is already online for Vex, but Vex gets rocked out of it instead. Pip taking care of business, and it's making taking care of business. Vex has decided that going off the side of the cliff might be in their best interest, but now we're left in a 4v4 situation, and right now Pip is trying to drive through them as the point is going to flip over in the process of Pip just trying to find Vig somewhere in this situation, but the freeze is going to come out instead. They're going to be knocked off to the side. Vig is just all in no man's land. Doha just waiting for the freeze to come off of Eternal, but Eternal is ready to strike back. Abyss going to finish the cleanup here and secure this fight win.
A bit of a messy fight there. Poor Vex thinking he had the advantage getting his ult up online so quickly, but Pip shows that he's not just a Ryan player and shows his dominance, able to cancel Vex's Flux. So their trades go out both sides, but it does end up in the favor of Abyss, and they're able to get the higher percentage here on this first point. They do have 4 ults coming up, so do have an advantage, whereas Kingpins expended a lot of ults in that last fight.
Yeah, and I don't know if they know if Eternal is here or not, and they clearly don't. The freeze is going to go down. It's going to try to catch on to at least 2, and eventually Vex going to be the first one to be taken down. Doha just has to come out to their inevitable death. Now the rest of Kingpins just need to back up, try to stay alive. But Wheezy not going to be able to accomplish that one. And Bard, not so much either. So Abyss are going to take a ton of time away. And for Kingpins, this is potentially last fight coming up.
Great bait there, allowing Kingpins to just walk into that choke. Eternal pops the Mei ult, and they're able to clean up all of Kingpins. So very cheap fight one there. Still 4 ults on the side of Abyss. Kingpins trying to break through this choke, walling off a SIG.
Yeah, but Pip is going to go down after using the Flux, and on top of that, they're going to use the beats on both sides. Bard gets extremely low, and you can see StopYou just trying to hold them at the line to the best of their ability, and now with 88 and counting, Eternal finding that strike pick, finds a second one on Dweezy, and now the Flux looking to close out this round. Everyone getting extremely low, and the final blows are going to be coming through Abyss. Not able to happen at the final hours. Now Kingpins get another opportunity, and honestly, the rest of Kingpins, or the rest of Abyss, just need to get out of there.
Oh, it seemed like Abyss had almost turned it around after losing their tank first. They used that window from the BAP to stop Kingpin's push. But Kingpins, undeterred, they take the other angle and they use that Flux. Vex is able to get it off this time, and they're able to kill off Abyss. So Abyss here is going to be looking to, they have the Mei ult coming up online, Eternal going to be trying to get as much with this ult.
Yeah, and that's lovely. They managed to get the wall so they completely take all that healing away from Pip. And now again, the rest of Abyss just going to have to back out, and they're only going to have the freeze for this fight, while Bard does have that overclock online.
Okay, at the very least for Abyss, it was a quick fight loss, so they are able to regroup as this percentage ticks up to 83%. So they do have one more fight. They have a May ult, and they're trying to catch as many members as possible and not get their ult eaten.
Yeah, and that's a good counter while directly back, but we are going to see that freeze come through. A lot of people frozen. Doha going to be the first one to fall, but Bard trying to bring it back here as they get rid of Eternal, and Vex ends up winning that display of the Sigma 1v1. And with Bard picking up 3 of their own during that fight, not going to get that 4th, but it's going to be more than enough for Kingpins to come back and take the first round here on Sanctum.
Kingpins, after losing that second team fight, they have been able to turn it around. And so Abyss, unfortunately, Eternal wasn't able to get as much with that May ult, and that Sojourn on the off angle, popping that overclock, is just able to pick off members of Abyss. And so first point goes over to Kingpins. And here we see a replay. Pip on that Rhine, unfortunately, just wasn't able to get as much done. But we'll see what submap we move over to. If it is Village, that is a very strong map for Rhine. And it looks like we are not going to be there. And so both these teams, I know they love that Far Mercy, love that ball comp. And so I'm expecting a lot of dive here.
Yeah, this is definitely gonna be extremely interesting. The Pharmacy definitely gonna be the big crux between these two teams. Honestly, like realistically, whichever Pharmacy performs better, their team should inevitably take it. But for both of these tanks, for Pip and Vex, they're really just gonna be trying to chase after these Kirikos and get rid of them first. And we see already Eternal wins the 1v1. We have Pip taking out Vig, and while we do see Bard eventually get rid of Stop You, I feel like the damage is already done here. Vex not able to get to that health pack. And now you see Weezy just trying to live on the point for as long as they possibly can. But unfortunately, now in no man's land is Abyss going to start out with this point.
I think what's interesting here is Pip is opting for that ball. And so we see a ball soldier over on the side of Abyss. Whereas on Kingpins, we're seeing the Echo instead of the Pharah, as well as a Sombra. And actually, Vex has moved off the Doomfist, swapped over to the ball. So a little bit of a closer mirror as these teams are trying to dive the soldier, but Stop You refuses to die.
Eternal has taken care of the Flyers both times now. Doha even went over to the Echo specifically because they realized they're not going to be able to take that. And now Eternal just putting in absolute work here. And now, unfortunately, Bart in a really awkward situation, eventually going to be taken out. Abyss still holding supreme, going up to that 40% marker. Doha needs the hightail out of there.
Eternal shows why the entirety of the Harmony tier of Tranquility is scared of him. Eternal is just so dominant on this flex DPS role, and particularly this Pharah. We've seen other teams try to match up with him on the Far Mercy, but unfortunately they just haven't been able to. And that's why Doha is trying to get the advantage on the Echo, which normally Echo does outperform the Pharah, but so far Kingpins hasn't been able to counter this Far Mercy from Abyss.
Yeah, and now these mines are going to come out. It doesn't seem like it's going to do a lot, but it is going to force the rest of Kingpins to go over to that left side. And Alna going to be the first one to fall down. So now a major part of that healing gone. And Eternal has to make the choice to use the barrage, but is going to get inevitably hacked out of it. Does take one eventually with them. So now we're back to the 4v4. But Bard eventually going to be taken down by Pip. And now we're in a very unique situation where if you can get rid of that Mercy, this fight is entirely winnable for Abyss, but they have to track them down, getting them so freaking low. Weezy doing their best to survive. Inevitably, the mine's going to come online now for Vex, who's just trying to hunt down the Mercy of their own. But Blue Roses with some killer movement now, being able to stay alive no matter what. And now it's down to Bard. They have this EMP ready to go, going to throw it up in the air. Is going to catch only Pip and eventually going to be taken out. And now it's just the desperation from the rest of Kingpins, trying to make it on the map, trying to find somebody. But Doha trying to do the damage on the side, eventually getting rid of Stop You. And now suddenly in their faces, Blue Roses trying to escape, has nobody to latch onto, eventually going to be taken out. And now Kingpins still fighting to try to take this point. But inevitably, Abyss trying to bring it back together. The mines gonna displace as many as they can. Bard trying to survive on that point with the AD strafing and getting rid of two. It's just Pip trying to stall things out for as long as they can. And it comes down to that ball 1v1, but Pip is the one with help on their side. And inevitably, Abyss is gonna pull out that second round win and tie things up.
Oh my god, Hunter, I'm amazed you casted all of that without taking a breath, but that fight lasted so long, and Kingpins and Abyss truly trying to bring their best to the table, knowing that the championship is on the line. And there were picks going on both sides of the teams, but Abyss comes up with the upper hand there and is able to full cap that point 100-0. Now we are moving over to Village, which is known for really strong. A lot of teams like to run that Rhine, Sim, May, bunker hold on the point. You know, forget the high ground, just hold point, and if the other team can't break through and get picks, you can just live there forever. So it looks like both teams are going to opt for the mirror here. And that's the interesting thing about Nepal. Each of these points play so differently. So on that first point, Kingpins came up with the upper hand on that Sig Brawl. And it'll be interesting here as we move over to the Rhine Rush, how these teams match up.
Yeah, honestly, it's once again back to that same scenario where these Sims are just trying to build up that beam as fast as they possibly can, and then advance on that along with the Mei wall. So for the time being, Hard just needs to be able to stay alive, keep throwing that beam into Pip's face, because Pip is getting that Shatter online very quickly, but Pip is just not getting the time to be able to get that shield back online, eventually going to get that first cap for Kingpins, but Pip, the shatters from both of these teams could be absolutely huge, and look at this. The shatter not gonna come out. Instead, it's gonna be Vex who brings it out and wipes away the rest of Abyss. They tried to strike first, but it does not pay off.
Oh, that's tough for Abyss. Pip tries to pop the shatter there, but unfortunately it gets canceled and his whole team gets shattered. I think that's the advantage Kingpins was able to play smartly. They were able to get to the point first. And in the mirror, especially when you have a Sim and a Mei, it's so hard to break through that bunker. And so you just see the DPS, you know, there and the Rhine popping so much damage as these teams try to take another fight, and windows coming up for both sides, as well as Fire Strike through that window.
Yeah, and this fight is just inevitably over. It's just the DPS trying to live for as long as they can. Bard is going to take all enough from the grave, and now it's just the stall from Doha. Abyss is going to cap with roughly 52% in favor of Kingpins. And wow, those fire strikes were not messing around.
Oh, that, you know, whenever you die to a fire strike through a window, it's a real feels bad moment, not gonna lie. And Kingpins, unfortunately, 3 members there died to a fire strike through the window from Pip, so Pip's gotta feel pretty good about that one. They're able to flip the point. However, Kingpins does have actually both DPS ults coming up online, as well as Beat coming up online for both these teams.
Yeah, and the free season to come online, it's going to catch multiple members of both teams, and now it's really just going to be who gets that first pick. The Beat going to come online for both sides. This is a heavy investment from both teams. Pip, once again, going to be taken out first, and now Stop You. Nothing stopping them from running it down, but eventually going to be taken out as Kingpins comes into this one, and is going to take back that point, and they still manage to hold on to that shatter.
I think the challenge there was Abyss popped the ults first, and so Kingpins, with the later Sim wall, they're able to sustain through that fight and live out all of that damage. So quick flip here, this map is truly going back and forth. However, the Rhine shatters are coming up online. I'm expecting back windows mid-fight. And Vex! Oh, the ult shatters popped!
Yeah, but we do have the immortality online, so everybody is going to stay up, but the damage has still inevitably been done, and now Abyss have a really tough decision here. Do they push? Do they try to die quickly and get one more fight in? But with 83%, that's no longer an option. You just have to get the hell backs together, make sure everybody stays alive, and recontest for this final fight, because Abyss, they just have to push it. They don't have a choice anymore. Both windows going to be activated. Abyss just needs to make sure that they get the overtime touch. That's all that is important right now. And with 98%, we are going to see Pip get that very first touch. But Pip getting extremely low, being kept up by Blue Roses. And Big gonna find a turtle to start things out here. The Shatter online is gonna find one, but the Shatter back from Pip is gonna find a couple, but it is not going to be enough. Kingpins running wild with this Ryan comp, and they're gonna go up 1-0, taking Nepal.
Wow, that last point on Village was so back and forth. The ult charges were so close. The ults were being used at the same time. It was really much closer than the percentage showed, but Kingpins just shows a little bit more patience and discipline. Even when everyone in the lobby is so low, they're able to kite a lot of that damage and sustain. Vex is able to get his Shatter online there and is able to take down members of Abyss. And so Kingpins here comes up with the first point, but I'm sure we have a long match ahead of us. Abyss will have the next map pick.
Yeah, and I'm curious what direction they're going to try to go with this, because it has become abundantly clear, because the one map that they ended up taking away was the one where they ran the pharmacy. And I think there's a good chance where you might want to pick a map where you're going to find yourself with a more open opportunity, as we can kind of see here when they're trying to run this Sigma comp against them. We do see some mistakes from Kingpins, but inevitably, it's just these DPS between Bard and Doha who are able to not only cut people down expertly, but also be able to displace them at the same time. And then inevitably, Eternal able to do a lot of work. They got shut down a little bit there at the end, but inevitably, they were the biggest crux for this Kingpin teams. But unfortunately, the moment they were taken off of that, we saw Pip get greedy with the shatters. And trust me, the Rhine main, I understand getting greedy with the shatters. You want to collect that as soon as you can. But Vex holding on just slightly longer, able to make just a little bit more happen.
That's the tough thing when you're in that Rhine v. Rhine matchup. It's all about the mental games. Rhine, although he seems like a big man who just holds a shield and charges in, there's so much more to that gameplay, as you see in these replays, this Rhine v. Rhine matchup. So Kingpins does come up with that first point, but honestly, I think Abyss looked really good on that far Mercy dive, as well as that ball comp. If I were their coach, I would be picking maps that really favor them in that matchup.
Yeah, and that's definitely what I think they're going to do, because we have the pick is in, so to speak. This is the NFL draft now, but since Abyss is going to have their pick coming up, they're going to be bringing us over to Eichenwald, and I think realistically this is the best map for them in terms of what they want to be able to run, because you know, you look at that first point and you especially look at the second point where there is a lot of open air to be able to work with. There are a lot of towers that you're able to kind of maneuver around and stay safe at that same time. So there's definitely an ability for them to run this down, but the answer really comes down to what Kingpins is going to do, because you could try to run that brawl style again, but you're going to need something to try to poke Eternal out of the sky.
If I were Abyss, I would be trying my best to hold on to point B and defend that as long as possible, because point C is going to be tougher for that dive there. Now, we do have a substitution. We actually see Classy come in for Doha. So it'll be interesting to see if, I think Classy on the hit scan is going to play a different character. We did see Doha over on the Sojourn last map, able to get a lot of picks with his overclock and play really well. So it'll be interesting to see if Kingpins is going, knowing what Abyss is going to play, is going to go for more of a counter comp, or it seems so far they seem to be running similar comps to what they ran on the first map.
Yeah, and I guess this isn't too shocking at the end of the day, because that first choke can be kind of difficult to get through, but this is where the mind games come into play. It's like, if you're playing rock, paper, scissors against somebody, and you know they always throw rock, you're going to throw paper. But your enemy realizes that that is also fact. So now, Abyss is going to come out on this normal comp, thinking that Kingpins is trying to counter comp the far that they believe is coming. And, you know, maybe logic isn't applying here. Maybe Stop You is doing a little bit of trolling, but I imagine they're going to swap back at the last second, and they will. So I'm curious to see how Kingpins is going to handle this potentially unexpected pick.
Okay, so these teams go for more of a mirror. The only difference here is we have Classy Turtle on that Sojourn, as well as Stop You on that Bastion. And so Abyss is trying to play quick, trying to really take advantage of the Bastion turret form and wall off a target, as we see coming into this point A.
Yeah, and already Pip kind of just getting displaced from their team with that wall, the Immortality tool being taken out early, and Pip right now just trying to make as much space for their team as they possibly can. And Eternal, unfortunately, going to be the first one to fall, and Classy Turtle already in that backline, trying to help get rid of the other DPS. Stop You gets extremely low. Is just trying to survive the best that they can, and Classy gets literally to 1 health, but is able to survive as Abyss gonna wait for their 5th to be able to push again.
Classy Turtle on the flank there, catches Abyss off guard, is able to pick off a member of Abyss there, and so that's an easy fight win for Kingpins. And now these teams are trying to brawl again. Both Sig Eat comes out from both teams, and the first window comes up for Blue Roses.
Yeah, it only takes them that minute to be able to get it online, so now Blue Rose is able to provide a lot of support for their team. Eternal tries to get that little shot to end Classy Turtle, but not going to happen as now the Overclock is going to come online, trying to find one, but they're getting ran down, and they do end up sacrificing their own Blue Roses to be able to get that pick. But now you give yourself the ability to win this, stop you getting extremely low, and Bard with that freeze online just in case they believe they need it, but it's really just Eternal to be able to solve this one out. And it's looking like Kingpins be able to hold extremely well, but they do use a couple of really strong ultimates to win that fight.
Abyss there thought that they had the first pick and so was able to get the advantage, but unfortunately they lose their BAP. And once you lose their BAP, it's just so hard to sustain through all of the damage coming out from Kingpins. Now, Kingpins does invest the overclock as well as the window, and so 3 ults on both B-sides, and Pip actually moves over to the Reinhardt.
Yeah, and that beat's gonna go online, and we see that little freeze. Oh, Weezy just jumps directly into that, and now Stop You eventually gonna be frozen out, and that freeze gets more than 1, 3 in total, and Pip is alive just trying to find another pick, but again, Abyss just gonna have to hit the reset button. Kingpin doing a really good job of kind of rotating out these ultimates.
Yeah, well done. Good fight won there by Kingpins. Now, Abyss is making some swaps yet again. Stop You has foregone the Bastion and moved over to the Sim. So now they're trying to move as quickly as possible and be able to speed their Rhine in. Pip does have a Shatter coming up online. It could be countered by Wheezy's Beats. But we shall see how this goes if Pip is able to pick off a few more members of Kingpins.
Yeah, and that was the 4v4. That Shatter came online from Pip, but that beat is going to be able to keep people alive for the time being. Classy Turtle is getting low. They're getting ran down for the time being. Abyss, they need to come together on one target because this looks like a bunch of 1v1s happening right now. They need to come together, and again, they sacrifice one of their players to be able to find a pick. And now they need to make this pay off. Bard, just trying to keep them sectioned off. You need to find this pick onto them as they're in your own backline. But inevitably, they are going to finally be able to come together, get the necessary picks as a team. They will be able to take this, but it's not nearly with as much time as they would have hoped.
Abyss breathes a sigh of relief there as that was looking so close. Only Blue Roses and Pip there on that point trying their best to cap it. However, Blue Roses with that window is able to force Kingpins to back off. With Pip just standing around that point looking menacingly. That's all you really need to do as tank. And so Abyss is able to cap this first point, and they look to take away this high ground from Kingpins, who are already set up over here.
Ooh, and they're going to take the long route instead because they want to force Classy Turtle out of their spot first and foremost. So now we see them settle down. Everyone's going to get the wall to be able to transfer through. They're kind of in a rough situation as they're actually going to take that TP and fake it to kind of bait them out of it. And now we see the Shatter come online. It's going to get 2, going for the pin, trying to find Vex in there somewhere who gets very, very low and is nearly out of the fight at this point. And now it's really going to come down to who gets that first pick, and Vex inevitably going to come back. Despite getting 2 with that Shatter, they don't get the kill on Vex with the pin. And in fact, I'm pretty sure they boop away Classy Turtle into a point where they couldn't get picks.
Wow, just as we were talking about Pip's Shatter, he had another Shatter and was able to get several members of Kingpins. However, Kingpins was able to turn around the fight, get the members of Abyss low, and Blue just could not keep up her team. The one plus side for Abyss is that they were moving the point throughout that entire fight, and so they have made significant progress even after losing this fight. They have DPS ults as well as another window and beat coming up online, but they are walking into 4 ults from the Kingpins.
Yeah, and this is very weird to say this because you never want to go and purposely lose a fight. But you're in a scenario where you don't want them to have these ultimates for the next fight. So you either need to use one and settle this quickly, or you need to make them use a lot. And in fact, it's going to be in the investment. Vex almost unintentionally drops down as we're seeing these picks come through one after another. Eternal trying to catch on to Fizz, who's going to be able to survive on the high ground. They're literally 1 health. Just trying to survive, and Classy Turtle helping bring this one back around. Eternal just trying to trace down Wheezy, but unfortunately, it is just not paying off. Kingpins able to strive and hold them off Abyss. They invest, and it just not pay off.
Oh my god, I can't believe Vig lived there with 1 health, showing off their mechanics on BAP, showing off why they are Harmony Tier MVP. But Vig is able to live out, just as Eternal, I'm sure, is so frustrated trying to chase him down. But because of that, Kingpins is able to survive that fight. However, they did invest heavily. They invested 4 ults there, while then they have nothing left in the bank. So this is going to be a dry fight there, as this is last fight territory. Abyss does have a shatter and a window, but they do have to move the point.
Yeah, and now you're in a really tough scenario. You have to make everybody drop. It's down to Pip with the shatter. Is going to find one, and it's a valuable one. Unfortunately, gonna get booped away, and now it's just the damage of Kingpins that is just gonna inevitably turn the tables, but they do have to make it to the point, and that boop actually takes Vex off of it. This has become a winnable situation. Blue Roses needs to be able to come back with this window and provide some value left, as we see Pip inevitably gonna come back on that ball, needs to try to make it back. Blue Roses is gonna come around with this window, just trying to keep up. Oh no, who's gonna use the beat as well? And now it's down to these supports in the ball to be able to bring this back in this 5v3 situation. Just trying to find the inevitable boop that'll eventually turn this fight around. But Kingpins is not faltering, making sure to stay focused on one target together, making sure to keep multiple people on the point, and that freeze ultimately gonna be the one that's going to solidify this away, as the last member is being taken out, and Abyss not able to make it through that second section just by the skin of their teeth. Kingpins holding on very strong with this Sigma comp.
Oh, that was, I'm sure, such a stressful fight at the end there. Abyss comes back. Blue Roses comes back with that window. Ana comes back with the beat, and it seems like they may be able to turn the tides in their favor. But unfortunately, Kingpins does have the advantage with the closer spawn. They are able to get members on point, and so they are able to hold off the team. I think so far, Abyss is struggling a little bit with the target focus. They're able to get members of Kingpins low, however, they're not able to finish them off. And I think that is really key as to why there are fights where it seems like they should be able to win it out, just like this one we're seeing right here where Vig is so low, but they're just not able to pick off those members. And so that's why Kingpins is able to outlast that and is able to hold on and clutch out the hold on point B. Now we are going to swap over to Abyss on defense and Kingpins on attack. We know where the alliance is. Abyss knows that they need to hold the cart off before point B, and I'm sure they don't want to lose point A, but they do know if they do lose point A, they do have the advantage of this poke comp. And so they've swapped completely over from what they were running on attack. They are going back over to the far Mercy with the ball and the Kryy and the Sojourn here. And so hoping to catch members of Kingpins off guard. I don't know if Kingpins is going to expect this, but they do have a close spawn, so they are able to make the swaps if necessary. Or perhaps they will be able to just have the right target focus and avoid all of the poke from Abyss.
Yeah, and right now Pip's just going to basically cause as much disruption as they possibly can. Because at the end of the day, once Kingpins comes together and on a target together and is able to section them off, they're going to straight up die. But Eternal, back to putting in the work on that Pharah, and Classy Eternal just going to have to take the death and just seeing the success out the gate. I still wonder why you never attempted to pull this out on the attack with all the time that you had.
Yeah, that's right. Quick fight win there from Abyss. Eternal on the Pharah doesn't face that much poke because you need a lot of people on a team to be able to counter a Pharah. And so we have Bard on the Bastion and Classy Turtle on the Sojourn, looking for more of that hit scan damage to try and force Eternal out. However, oh, Eternal there with the barrage catches a couple members of Kingpins.
Yeah, but this res could be very important, but you already see right now, like, we see is just sticking around that area to make sure that they don't end up going for that res, because that's the last thing you want is for Eternal to get back even quicker, but the last thing you want if you're Kingpins is to lose Classy Eternal that late, so gonna have to take a little bit longer to reset, and now plenty of time for Eternal to get back on the field.
Abyss breathes a sigh of relief there. They lose 2 members, however, they are able to hold off the members of Kingpins who had lost their SIG and their BAP, who are just so critical to this comp. Now, ults are going to be coming up online soon for Kingpins. We have a BAP window, as well as a Sojourn Overclock and a beat. However, they do need to make sure to take as little poke as possible and live these mines from Pip.
Yeah, but Classy Eternal gonna be the first one to go down Eternal. just being able to stay alive so amazingly. And of course, Blue Rose is doing a fantastic job of keeping them up as the window is going to come online with Pip going down. Eternal needs to find somebody in this situation. Just they're investing heavily too. Stop You has pulled off that overclock and is staring down the face of a window, down the face of a Beat, but they cannot be deterred. They're gonna fight until that HP drops to 0. But Beat kept up because I don't know, eventually gets back and helps with the healing, and Bard's going to go down. Despite this Herculean effort of Kingpins to get that first pick onto Pip, to be able to survive for as long as they can, and even to get Stop You, that Flux inevitably going to find Oh No and not able to keep themselves up in time. But still, Eternal with the 3K at the end, the res to bring back Oh No, Abyss is just right back in it.
Eternal is just so dominant and truly taking over the lobby. Honestly, I thought that was so impressive how the supports were able to keep up Stop You there. As Stop You was looking at a Bastion turreting in his face. But Stop You shows that even though Abyss don't have their starting hit scan, they haven't lost a single step. And showed why Abyss picked him up for this grand finals match. Now Eternal with the barrage here, oh my god, it's just too good.
Yeah, and that's the 2K, and if you manage to fend them up long enough, you could set up a res, but it is looking like they're just gonna have to back out, and Eternal is just gonna have to come back the natural way. And for Kingpins, this is their last fight, and they swapped up everything, so they're not gonna have any ults for this fight.
Yeah, they just have a window that'll come up mid-fight, and Vex has actually swapped over to the ball. Oh my god, they're making a full comp swap and going for the mirror except for the Soldier and the Sojourn. I'm wondering if this will catch Abyss off guard. However, Abyss does have a lot of ults coming online, so they do have the advantage. Kingpin, meanwhile, only have a window, and now we're seeing a Far Mercy battle in the skies.
Yeah, and we seem to be the first one to go down Bard. No longer has a Mercy to work with Pip. Eventually going to clean them up. A Vidge is still on the scene. The MVP trying to help close things out here, but inevitably gonna meet the bronze side of those bombs. And it's just Vex doing a nice little victory lap around the point, trying to stay alive, keep that stall going for as long as they can. And Wheezy eventually gonna bring back Big, but still, it's you can see the rest of Abyss on the point, putting in absolute work to help with the cleanup. This is this team coming together, and now the supports just trying to survive for as long as they possibly can together. And it's working out wonderfully as eventually Abyss is backing out just a little bit, and now it's down to Stop You. They found the one, looking for the second, and if they can't keep people on the point.
Not a C9!
There was so little
my gosh.
left. Oh my good, like that fight looked like it was becoming a cleanup, but still, they eventually just can't keep people on the point. And this Farah comp just full held the #1 seeded team. That is incredible.
Abyss showing why they won that point on Nepal on the Far Mercy ball and full hold Kingpins on their defense. So incredible job by Abyss there. It was looking really close. Vex on the ball was able to live for so long, and they were able to get a couple picks onto Abyss. So I was actually a little worried. It looked like Kingpins might be able to cap point A. However, members of Abyss come back. They're able to have the overclock and kill off members of Kingpins. And so we're able to breathe a sigh of relief, full hold there. But Kingpins is going to have the next map pick. I'm sure they're going to be doing some regrouping. I'm sure they're going to be trying to find a map that maybe isn't so advantageous for the Far Mercy that Abyss have just been so dominant on. They make the last minute swaps in the last 30 seconds of the map, but it was just too little too late. Perhaps they should have swapped earlier. Perhaps if they were in the mirror, they would be able to scramble Abyss and maybe match up a little bit better, because they were running the Sig Brawl into Abyss. Abyss was just able to take so many different angles, and it was so hard for Kingpins to rush and pick off members of Abyss.
Yeah, and now it's the wonder of what is going to come next, because of course, next up is going to be Flashpoint, and there's not exactly a big bank to be able to choose from. So, like, the pick that Kingpins is going to have is, do you choose to run Suravasa, a map where that Sigma style comp is going to work a little bit better, but you leave it more susceptible to a Far Mercy? Or do you go something like New Junk City, where it's a little bit more difficult to run something like the Pharmacy, but you might have to run something akin to that Reinhardt style instead. That's kind of the choice they're presented with right now. I personally think it's best if they do just go over to Saravasa and run what they run best, but I could be wrong. I'd be happy either way. I'm a bit of a nerd for New Jung City, so we'll see in a moment.
That's true. We know teams love to pick Saravasa, and so we usually see that about 95% of the time, but we do know Kingpins have actually chosen New Junk City. However, the thing about Flashpoint is these maps have so many different angles, and each point is a little bit different. There's indoor points as well as outdoor points. And so if I were a betting woman, I actually don't think Abyss is going to run the Far Mercy ball comp, because while it'll work on some of these open points, it doesn't work as well on all of the points of New Junk City. So I'm expecting more of that SIG brawl mirror that we've been seeing, and we've seen Kingpins have the upper hand on.
Yeah, I think that's exactly why Kingpins inevitably does pick this map instead. Because, like you've already said, you can run the pharmacy if you wanted to, but when we look at that very first map of the arena, you look at those 2 points over on the side, it's all inside and it's so difficult to play the far. And sure, you can play it for the other 2 points, but this isn't like Escort where, you can simply swap up after that first point and not have an issue. This is a very quick map. It's going to breeze right by, and the last thing you want to do is to be trying to swap comps for every individual point. But the one swap we are going to see is Doha coming back in for Classy, so this does support that claim of them going back to the hard Sigma style composition, running that Mei along with that Sojourn. So I'm curious if this team wants to do anything different, because they seem very comfortable in the Sigma style comp. But when you run into a composition like the Pharmacy that you start to have trouble with, the mind's going to start turning a little bit, and that can cause teams to sometimes change it up, whether that's for the better or for the worse.
Kingpins does lose out on Eichenwald, but I think they do have the better comp here that they have had the upper hand on. And now we are going to hop into New Junk City, which we don't get to see that often, so this is a nice breath of fresh air. We do see a preview of what these teams are running. It seems like Vex wants to opt for the Bastion, for the Rhine, while Bard is going over to the Bastion and Doha over to the Mei. It seems like these two are, Bard and Doha are more of the flex DPS players on Kingpins. And Abyss is, they said, forget you, Ashen. We're going to go with what is working, and they're going to keep the Far Mercy. But knowing that these points are a little bit different, some of the points that we saw on Eichenwald, they're going for more of a brawl poke hybrid with the BAP, the Orisa, and the Mei.
Yeah, and the biggest thing why they're running this Orisa is because Orisa has a lot of tools to be able to zone off their opponents. You can use the Javelin to put people away. You can use the Spin to be able to keep that Rhine pin away, the Fortify as a last case scenario, just to make sure they don't go down. And eventually, you can see it paying off right there. All of the attention from Kingpins was sitting specifically onto Pip, but Pip is able to survive thanks to all their abilities. They have all the help in the world from both of their supports, and eventually this fight is going to go back over to the side of Abyss. Just need to finish up with that cleanup, and Eternal having absolutely no issue helping out in that regard.
Great fight there by Abyss. Shows that they know what they're doing, and they even get the stagger here on the Mei. Pip on that Orisa is just going to live forever and just spins spears, walks into the Reinhardt, and Vex is just taking so much damage from all different sides, including Eternal, and so goes down there early. So Abyss here is just trying to bunker here around the choke, stop Kingpins from pushing in. There's a lot of ults coming up online, and so Kingpins is going to have to, play a bit of a tough game and try to speed onto a target or catch a target out of position.
Yeah, but the problem is the only target they're going to be able to find out of position realistically is Stop You. And in fact, Eternal going to get going deep with this. Eternal going to find Bard, is trying to find one more on the outside. Want to make sure to not be separated too far, because right now, Kingpins made the initiative to be able to jump in and on this 3-stack and eventually is going to take them out. And now it's really just down to the Far Mercy to be able to stall for as long as they can. And going for the res as well. Stop You's going to come back online, is going to be able to help out even more with that stall. But at the end of the day, it's just that stall. But they do get it to 99%, but they invest a lot to try to win that losing fight.
Yeah, stop you there, throws in the Mei ult, and Eternal is able to get a pick off a frozen target. Seems like they might have been able to turn it around, but it was only Ana and Eternal alive, and so they unfortunately lost that fight. However, they were able to force out the overclock as well as the window over from Kingpins. There is a Mei ult coming online as well as a Shatter. Abyss is going to have to try and live that out as best as they can because they don't have a shield, they don't have a Rhine on their side, and they need to make sure not to get caught off guard by the Shatter.
Yeah, and the Shatter is going to come online. We see it go on, but it's going to be a nice little trade out right there, but eventually Pip is going to drop. And with that freeze, it's right back down to the pharmacy, but I don't think Eternal and Ana are going to be able to do enough. Inevitably just going to die in this small room. Kingpin's going to take that first round, and now Abyss has to come to a decision of whether or not they want to keep pushing this pharmacy or not.
Okay, it looks like they are making up swaps, giving up some important ults, but they are going to go over, it seems, to the Lucio Mercy. I don't know. I think Abyss is still in spawn trying to figure out what they want to play. Okay, what is interesting is they have swapped over to the ball comp. Ana and Blue Rose is doing a bit of a swap here. Earlier we saw Ana, their main support, on the Mercy, and now we have Blue Roses on the Mercy instead. So the support line showing a lot of flexibility, or maybe they're just a little bit confused, but they're going for more of a full dive with the ball, feeling like they're struggling against Kingpins. Ryan Rush comp with that Orisa and Mei.
Yeah, it could just be that Ana has that specialty of the Kiriko, and so Blue Rose is just going to come in to be able to help them run that without any further issue. And now you can see all that damage going through, but Eternal is actually going to be the first one taken out, very surprisingly. And with Blue Roses with nowhere left to go, this is going to be a slow burn for the last members of Abyss, who just need to try to survive with their lives intact. We do not want to stall this out forever, and Pip just going to get out of there from the back line.
Eternal dies first to the Fire Strike, which is just so unlucky. However, Kingpins is able to get the first tick. They're ticking up to 50%, and so Abyss is trying to take a quick fight. They do have ults coming up online, notably Mines, Overclock, and Barrage. However, they lose their Kiriko first.
Oh, no. No.
Oh, no.
No. It can't end like this. But that Eternal does get the pick on the Vic, though, so it is going to be very nice. But unfortunately, I don't think Abyss is going to be in much of a position to push this point again. I mean, they could, but it would be a really big risk, honestly.
Oh, that's so tough there. Pip getting stuck on the outer wall, which you don't see every day. This is fast fight territory. They need to make sure someone touches the points.
They get that touch, but Eternal, unfortunately, a little too low to the ground. Bard has found them, is now just looking for Blue Rose. Is going to miss that initial pick. Blue Rose is going to be able to survive for a little bit longer, but is being tracked down inevitably. Gets taken up by Vex, of all people. So now Kingpins in a beautiful position. As soon as they manage to clean up Pip, they will go up 2-0. And Abyss, this pharmacy comp, it's been doing wonders for them, but it's just not working here on New Junk City.
Yeah, Kingpins really seemed undeterred. Abyss had a really hard time trying to break open that hold from Kingpins, and so they're giving up ults yet again, making swaps for the second time this map, as Kingpins is already up 2-0 on Flashpoint. Now they've opted for the mirror, but they are coming into this fight at an ult disadvantage, while Kingpins has 3 ults online.
Yeah, and right now, you just have to wait out this window and make sure not to get caught out by this Shatter. It is going to come out, in fact, just having a nice little cleanup right here. Going to find themselves that 4K on top of that. But Kingpins, they still do use the window. And now Abyss is going to have an opportunity to come back earlier, but still Vex making a statement here.
Yeah, one day Pip will block a Shatter. I'm sure that's how his team is feeling, but that's just unlucky. Kingpins there just have the ult advantage because Abyss was forced to swap comps. However, Kingpins only has a beat left. Weezy is trying to do his best to live through this overclock and the Shatter from Kingpins. However, Eternal is able to get that first pick.
Yeah, and not only that, that beat comes online from Weezy, but it doesn't even catch on to Vex, so now this is just going to be a cleanup. But Bard is going to take Blue Roses with them, but eventually 51% online for King Rose, or for...
Indecisiveness, so I'm not sure whether or not they should take a dry fight, but Abyss is able to win that out. However, they do lose their BAP, so they need to play a little safer, play a little back, waiting for their BAP to come back.
And now it's Pip online with their own Shatter, looking to get a little bit of revenge here. As right now, they're going to go in that backline, hit the Shatter, and they find all 5! And it's going to be the massive cleanup. There is the revenge that Pip was looking for. Vex, you are not the only Rhine here on the field, as they are going to stall out Bard here at the end.
Okay, Pip finally gets his revenge, charges in, shatters all 5 members of Kingpin. So well done there. Pip shows that he can do it on the Reinhardt too. They do a great job of staggering Bard on that Sojourn, trying to prevent the members of Kingpins from pushing as this is the last fight.
Yeah, and that wall is going to stop them from being able to get to this point at all. You're going to try to see the send from Ana, but unfortunately not going to reach it, as now there's a decision from Kingpins if they want to try to get out. But right now there's the separation from Bard, but Pip gets a little too greedy. And now the rest of the Abyss needs to try to escape, but unfortunately they're so split up right now after that fight win. It's so exciting to win, but you cannot split up after that fact.
Yeah, Pip just gets a little bit too excited, sees a tunnels on a target who's out of position, but unfortunately gets picked off. And Blue Rose is there, tries to follow her Rhine, trying to pocket him as much as she can, but unfortunately she dies as a result. I know how it feels as a support player when you end up sacrificing your position, trying your best to save the team, but that is just so unlucky. But luckily, the point hasn't even opened yet, and there was a long walk to this 4th point, and so both teams are able to fully regroup.
Yeah, and that's a lot of investment. We just saw Kingpins hit 3 different ultimates, and all Abyss did was hit that beat and back out. They do lose Stop You, but Stop You is going to be able to get back pretty fast with Ona going to go pick them up. So Kingpins just used 3 ultimates in that fight. I don't know if that was quite worth it.
Yeah, that seems like a really expensive fight, and maybe a bit of miscommunication among the team members of Kingpins. They are able to get the beat out from Ana, however, but they are walking into Mirror May ults as well as Sojourn Overclock.
Yeah, and it's going to catch a lot of members on both sides. Oh no, literally put in the worst predicament possible, and now it's just them trying to survive. Stop You getting rid of both supports on both sides, by the way, so it's a 3v3 with no supports on either side. It's down to Eternal right here, trying to find the magic, trying to find that flip as well. Abyss gonna find it at 77%. Vex super low. You need to find this pick, and with Eternal finding it, they just need to be able to survive out, try to find the appropriate headshot, and that's definitely what they're looking for. We see the stall come back. Oh no, has made it back to the point, trying to stall for as long as they can. Inevitably, the flip going to come back online as Eternal eventually going to get rid of Vig. And this fight is such a back and forth. It's a bunch of 2v2s and 3v3s. They just need to be able to find one another. And now Kingpins trying to close things out here. Eventually, Pip going to make it back to bring the support for this team to try to hold things out for as long as they can. And Doha trying to survive, but with no form left. The Shatter comes online just for good measure. Abyss is going to be able to take this one back, but that Shatter, you wonder whether that was worth it in the end, or just that moment of desperation trying to hold on.
Honestly, I think that Shatter was worth it. Eternal was doing God's work, trying to put his team on his back, holding on to this point for dear life. And Kingpins, I don't know what it was, but they weren't able to kill off Eternal, who was the only one on point for so long. And so great fight win there from Abyss. This is really the last point. They have to win this in order to have potential of winning this map.
Yeah, and Eternal goes for that freeze, and they end up getting taken out. Now there's a Shatter in the backline. It's going to find nobody, it looks like. And now in the backline, Stop You has found another of their own. And with that freeze on top of it, they're looking to try to finish things out. But with that freeze coming back, Stop You has to back out for a moment. Pip trying to survive for as long as they can, but Vex has found 3. But they have to touch the point. They don't make it back.
Oh my god, C9 there by Kingpins. There were 2 members left alive against just a Stop You from Abyss. They should have been able to turn it around. But the thing about Flashpoint is these point percentages tick up so quickly. So unfortunately, they lose that point. It is now tied 2-2, and we are moving over to the last point here on Flashpoint.
Just absolutely insane. And now Abyss, unfortunately, in a situation where they're going to have nothing online. Oh no, eventually going to get this beat. But right now, if you're Abyss, the best thing you want to do is force this beat and force this window out of them. And Pip is going to basically sacrifice themselves to make the space. And now it's a 4v4 that will not able to catch on to them. And now you just need to Dire back out. You do force out that window, though, so you would at least get something out of it.
Okay, Kingpins here gets the first cap with the ult advantage. With that window, they are able to pick off members of Abyss, and they get that first cap. Now, we are seeing ults come up online finally for Abyss. They do have a beat, and they will get a shatter very quickly. However, they are walking into an overclock, a shatter, and a beat from Wheezy. And so this is going to be a bit of a tough fight. Percentage is ticking up to 45%. And they're truly, you know, with the championship on the line, both teams truly want to go up in the series.
Yeah, and Vex, Vex is going to go around. They don't know yet. Vex is going to go around and try to hit the shatter on the side. Is looking, but they don't really go in. I'm not sure if that was purposeful or not. But with the amount of time that Abyss has been taking, this is final fight for them now. So now we're likely going to see the aggressive beat. The shatter comes online and captures for. Not able to get the beat out. The Ajax coming through. Blue Rose is the last to stand. Abyss dies with 2 of their ults in their hand, and Kingpins bring this one back. They get relief from that C9 the point before. They will go up 2-1 in the series.
Vex truly showing his dominance, showing why he is a role star for this Harmony League. And he has just been so dominant on this Ryan, hitting shatter after shatter. And with that shatter alone, able to shatter all of the members of Abyss, unfortunately force the Ajax from Ana. Kingpins are able to sweep that last point 100-0. They win out Flashpoint 3-2 and go up in the series 2-1.
Yeah, and I think like some of this you have to call back to the point that Abyss, for the longest time, they didn't know what they wanted to do. They had this little unique strategy with that Orisa and the Far Mercy, and it worked initially. But the problem with that is the moment the pharmacy is no longer like in the fight, the moment they are not a threat, you were just going to see a 5v3 on that Orisa stack. And you saw it happen. They just got ran down, and Eternal couldn't do a thing about it since they just weren't in a position to help out. And inevitably, that's what ends up being the snowball, because you wonder what would have happened if they just come out and ran that mirror comp in the first place. Could we have seen a different result? Could that first point have gone different? Because if it is different, we're looking down to 3-1 right now, and Abyss is up in the series, but now they're in a position where now they have to answer back, which you never want to be in that position, especially not in the grand finals.
You're right. Abyss makes those comp swaps after losing those first 2 points, and they are able to look a lot better in that mirror comp. However, they aren't able to win it out. I do wonder if it was too little too late, but luckily this is a 1-4 series. So while they are down 1-2, we are going into a break. They will have time to regroup, and they will have the next map pick. I think once again, you know, they have looked great on the ball, but you also have to recognize what kind of map you're playing into. And so I think both these teams recognize that, and they're going to be picking maps that really favor the comps that their team likes to run. So Abyss is going to take a bit of time to regroup and figure out their strategy, figure out what they want to do next. And we will be back very shortly after this break.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Harmony Tier Grand Finals here in Season 11. And so far, this has been one heck of an affair, Ashen. Both these teams have gone back and forth, whether it's Kingpins being super dominant running Vex over on that Reinhardt style, but also we see the dominance coming through from Abyss on that Pharmacy. But unfortunately for them, it's looking like Kingpins has started to figure out the answer in taking care of it.
Yeah, that's right. And I think that last shatter is going to echo in all of Abyss's and particularly Pip's memory forever, hoping that that is not the championship winning shatter. Kingpins are up 2-1 in the series. We are going to move over to push, and Abyss does have the map pick. I think they are going to go with a map that favors the Farm Mercy that they've looked so strong in, because Vexa over on Kingpins on tank has been getting the upper hand in this tank matchup, especially on that Rhine. And so we do know what the next map pick is going to be. Abyss has picked New Queen Street. So we were saying, Hunter, we were talking about earlier, we were praying to God Abyss doesn't pick Coliseo because that is just a straight back and forth map. It's so advantageous for a brawl comp. At least with New Queen Street, there's a lot of different angles. I'm expecting Abyss here to keep running that Farm Mercy and that ball and having their team just attack Kingpins from different angles over here on New Queen Street.
Yeah, to be honest, obviously, we were both saying before, we really thought Esperanza would beat the pick. But I do like New Queen Street as well, because one of the bad sides about New Queen Street running a brawl-style comp is when you get it to that initial checkpoint, the defense has one of the most advantageous high grounds to exist on push. It is so hard to be able to get up there and do anything, but you take that away when you have the ball in the Pharmacy. You can just simply have the ball come around the back and boot people off, or even the same thing with Eternal, who could boot people off, or just apply pressure by just hanging around the building and just poking back and forth. There's a great ability to make this work, but I think the important thing here is that they have to get to that point in the first place. That mid-fight is going to be super important, and I'm guessing that they're kind of seeing this coming as well, because we are going to see Classy come on in for Doha, so likely going to see a bit more hit scan coming back out, potentially that Sojourn, maybe something a little bit more, but Kingpins still feels confident that they can take care of this. I don't want to put it that this is Abyss's last chance to try to make this work, but you don't want to go down 3-1 in the series, especially running what has been deemed to be your best comp.
That's right. And so we see Classy coming in. I'm expecting the Sojourn from Kingpins. The one thing Abyss can breathe a sigh of relief about is... I don't know what we're looking
what's
at.
Happening here?
Oh my god. Okay, neither of us predicted this.
Please tell me that we're just on the wrong sides, but we're not. These are the correct sides. Why? Kingpins is running something that Abyss would run, and Abyss is running something that Kingpins would run. What?
I know we haven't seen Jotes all series long, but we do see Abyss running this with the Junker Queen, Kryy, Lucio, as well as the Sojourn Genji. I wonder if they're going to expect this ball for a Mercy dive from Kingpins. And I'm also curious to see what kind of swaps we're going to see throughout this map. The thing about Abyss is they are playing Jotes, they are playing tighter together, and they do need to live out all of this dive, as well as force out enemy targets and focus down a target together. But that's so difficult when Kingpins is running this dive pump, because they're not really giving the Abyss a target to focus.
Yeah, that's the problem. Abyss is straight up, they are not going to be able to run this composition. You're never going to get onto Class Eternal because you have that shout for mobility, you know, you have the ability to speed forward, but Classy is just going to run away. They can kind of just get out whenever they want to. But, you know, as I say, that Pip makes a way to make it happen anyway, as right now Bard kind of caught out without the Mercy right now, but eventually going to find their way back because they're just trying to buy enough space to be able to get that res. And for the time being, Blue Rose is getting super low, trying not to be caught with that direct, just trying to get up that natural healing. And eventually, it's just working out for Abyss, as Blue Rose is actually going to be the one to find Vig. So now, this case is going back in their favor. Blue Roses has found 2. And this is unexpected. You know, this is the reason why I'm not in the grand finals, because clearly I don't understand how this works. Abyss makes it work.
You know, I wonder if these teams have really scouted each other, and maybe Kingpins just hasn't really seen Jotes from Abyss. Maybe they're being caught off guard. I'm honestly, I have to say huge kudos to Abyss. I'm incredibly impressed that nobody died during that fight. Nobody died to all of that poke, all of that dive coming over from Kingpins. And they are able to win out that fight. So well done by Abyss. Kingpins makes a swap over here to the Rhine Brawl.
Yeah, and I really like that swap as well. And now you're going to see the last couple members just try to get out with their lives. That pin, unfortunately, going to catch on to Anna. And it's just Eternal that is the one left to tell the story. But still, Abyss with an amazing 53 meters to start things off here.
Okay, Kingpin's already showing the value of those swaps. Vex charges in and they wall off the Junker Queen, are able to pick them off immediately, but now we see even more swaps coming out. Abyss is moving back over to the ball, but they do keep the Genji as well as Sojourn, Kryy, and Lucio here, so they're just running a brawl. And Eternal here pops the, oh my god, pops gets shattered, but it's countered by the beat.
I know, and that cleanse came directly online as well, so inevitably, this is going to be Abyss's fight to win. They just need to come together on these last targets. You're going to see Vig extremely low, going to have to hold on to that window for another day, and in fact, I don't think that was an intentional stagger because you do manage to lose Stop You. You do see that last little touch over from Weezy, who's just trying to stall it for as long as they can, but now Abyss coming away with an excellent fight win, and they do invest a lot, but it's more than worth it.
Yeah, Blue Roses show that she can play the Kryy too, and showing that Abyss has the most flexible support line here at Harmony Tier. So well played there. They invest the best a few ults there. Was a little bit expensive, however they are able to get point control here. And they're trying to best to get this checkpoint, but they just can't seem to.
Oh, and Pip ends up getting classified with the nades. They were stuck in such a bad position, and Bard in a situation where they're having a hard time moving around. And now you see the overclock come through. Vex, they go for the gamble, but it does not pay off. And now you just see on the point Bard and Weezy trying to last for as long as they can. But Abyss is going to unlock that butt scratch and clears out Kingpins. And again, forcing the swaps.
Okay, Vex there on the Rhine, trying to look around, but unfortunately just can't hold shield against everyone's, especially Stoppy, who's shooting him in the back of the head. So Abyss is able to kill off the Rhine, is able to get point control and cap this first checkpoint, which is just so critical on push maps. We see swaps coming out yet again, seeing an almost mirror over from the side of Kingpins.
Yep, and now the late pick going to come out on Stop You and Pip, who Pip is just going to try to live out a little bit, is going to try to escape with their lives, because the last thing you want to do is be picked off super late. But I think even with that late pick, I think that Pip will be able to survive, as we see Blue Rose is going to head over to that Mercy now, and the swaps just don't stop, do they, Ashen?
All right, this is truly peak counterwatch that we are watching here in this match. And so we see both teams in a bit of a mirror on that far Mercy ball dive. However, Ana still on the Lucio. I think it's perhaps she's coming up on the beat. Perhaps we'll see her move over to the Kiriko. So Abyss doesn't have as much sustain for their comp. However, Stop You is able to live usually really pretty independently, but he does lose his life here.
Yeah, but you need to be able to get rid of Wheezy, but Wheezy doing a good job of staying alive. Again, that maneuverability working out, just being hunted down, but Vig is back on the scene to be able to help things out. And now Abyss is in this really weird situation where you cannot afford to lose Blue Roses, but she inevitably is going to go down. Vex going to be able to escape with their lives, and now Kingpins have a lot of ultimates to bring to the table for Abyss. This might be a situation where they try to go all out to win this thing, but for the time being, they do just have to do a quick little regroup as Pip gonna throw down their own mines. It's gonna find Classy Turtle somehow, and now Bard looking to make something happen, but it's just the back and forth. Vex finds a second of their own. Bard has no mercy to their name. Bard eventually be taken out by Eternal, and Abyss may have just barely been able to drag this one back as it's just Vex on the point. Oh my god.
Oh my god, all of the players in this lobby are so low, but Eternal clutches that up with the barrage, is able to kill off the enemy ball. And so Abyss here breathes a sigh of relief. Before Kingpins is able to get that first checkpoint, they do get up point control and they are able to turn it around. However, on these ball comps, teams come back fast. We saw that earlier. Pip was able to stall that point out for so long, and Kingpins re-engage was here with the ult.
Yeah, and that's the thing, a weird thing. Eternal is separated from the Mercy just for a small while, and now it's a 4v3. Blue Rose is gonna bring out that Guardian Angel to be able to try to get that res back up. Is gonna be pushed away, but is still gonna be able to survive. And now Abyss gonna double down onto it with the beat. And now it's just Vex on the point, trying to be able to get out with their lives. And Abyss, 70 meters and counting. Kingpins are swapping so much, but they're still struggling.
Oh my god, Blue Roses there is able to get that res off, which was so critical. Ana comes in with that late beat. I wonder if she meant to hit that earlier when Blue was going for the res. Unfortunately, they lose their soldier here first, so they're now fighting a 5v4.
Yeah, and now Blue Roses gets hit with that direction. Now they're going to be insanely low. Eventually, she's going to be taken out. And now Abyss might be down to stall tactic here as they're losing person after person. We do see the mines on the points, though, from Pip, actually. This is a nice little stall tactic at the end of the day, because it is going to find a weird amount of value. You want to have it for this very last fight. So now, with 2.5 minutes, Abyss with a 55-meter lead.
Yeah, Abyss there, really well done, is able to push past to the checkpoint and get that payload quite far, which is so important. Every meter counts in push. Now, Ana still remains on this Lucio, so Abyss still on this Mercy Lucio comp. But Pip does such a good job of stalling out this payload, contesting the payload, knowing that he can live on ball even while his teammates are going down.
Yeah, he's going to manage to find the health pack to be able to stay alive. And right now, Eternal is just trying to find Wheezy in this process. But right now, the movement from both of these Mercies today have been phenomenal. The Bard still able to eventually track them down. Eternal has no healing to be able to sustain them. Just got to grab the mini to be able to stay alive. And now Abyss needs to bring it back together because it's 40 minutes of counting. They are not far from that checkpoint.
Yeah, Pip here is so low, is not able to contest the point before they hit checkpoint. So Kingpins here, I'm expecting, actually, no, they are going to go for the contest. Luckily, Pip does get healed up. Unfortunately, Eternal gets picked off immediately.
And the mines are thrown directly into the area in which they were, so now you can't get that res off. Stop You has 0 escape, and now, honestly, this is just down to the stall from Abyss. Pip likely wants to save onto these days because this is still very winnable. Just because they win this fight doesn't mean it's over. They'll have to win an entire fight after the fact. You get a ton of stall from Pip, who's going to try to live, and they're actually going to.
Okay, at least Abyss was able to contest this point for so long, and Kingpins just gets the checkpoint, and so they do have about 30 more meters to push it. They do have 3 ults coming online, while Abyss also has, with both DPS ults as well as that ball mines. I'm expecting the mines to come out early here to try and disrupt the members of Kingpins.
This is what's going to come down to. Bard is going to find one of their own. Going to get hit with one direct, but not the second. And now Bard up in the air. Going to be taken out eventually. And now Stop You manages to get rid of Wheezy as well. Classy Turtle trying to survive for as long as they can. They have their own vision ready to go. Not going to be able to use it though, as Abyss going to take that fight back. Gonna be able to reset the spawns as well as Abyss. Potentially one fight away from tying things up.
Huge clutch there by Stop You with the visor. When you have that auto aim, it's just such a big advantage, and so is able to pick off several members of Kingpins. There's 10 seconds left. This is last fight territory. Kingpins is coming up on 4 ults, while Abyss has both support ults and a barrage.
Yep, and it's gonna come online. Blue Rose is gonna get hit, but eventually, instead, Anna gonna pull out that beat to be able to stay alive. Classy Turtle getting super low, but you can kind of see from Pip, who's doing a great job being able to delay them. And Eternal gonna get low, but all that is gonna help them stay up. Blue Rose is going absolutely insane-o, rocking this Valkyrie right now. Eternal going in with the barrage, gonna find that trade, and now they're gonna have to just back out a little bit. Blue Rose is gonna have a hard time committing to that resurrection, just trying to flip things around and finding the opportunity, but it's getting super low as we see Pip gonna come back around, try to cause the stall for as long as they can, but Wheezy already back on the scene to help things out here. It's just looking like Abyss is gonna have to just hit the reset here and play for this very final fight.
Oh my god. Kingpin's trying to cling on for dear life, trying to get a 3-1 lead. Abyss is able to come back. They are fast heroes. They will have another contest before Kingpins pushes this point. Kingpins did invest a few ults there. Bard is coming up on the barrage, and the barrage is huge. Members of Abyss are going to have to make sure, trying not to die to that, but the team members are going to go down low, and they kill off Stop You there.
Yeah, and now Bard with this barrage could be the game winner right here. Looking for Pip, eventually gonna throw the barrage in their face. Bard gets super low, eventually taken out as the res is gonna come through. And now it's going to come down to this, trying to find the Mercy, who gets extremely low. Eternal has found one. They need to find a second to be able to keep going. They have found 2 now, looking for that third to be able to keep these going. It's down to the Pharmacy versus the Pharmacy, and just trying to survive, but Vex still being alive on the point with Pip coming back. Needs to get rid of Wheezy, who's so low, eventually taking out Pip. Gonna be able to create an amazing amount of stall for this team, but living is first and foremost the most important thing, and Bard having to hide away is literally one, and now Stop You gonna get rid of Bard. It is just the stall from Vex, who's trying to live for as long as they possibly can. Same with Classy, and eventually we're gonna see that Mines come online. Stop You gonna be able to stay alive in Abyss. All that they were able to get earlier on, that meterage pays off. Abyss in a nail-biter manages to tie up the series once more.
Oh my god, that felt like the Owl Finals on the line there. That fight was so back and forth. There were so many picks going both sides, members going down low, and finally Abyss is able to clutch that out. Stop You was huge here with visors several times, and as was Eternal on the Pharah, just so dominant. And so they are able to get the picks. Great job from Abyss, having the soldier touch point, having the ball touch point, and so they are able to clutch that point. They are rewarded with the win here on push, and they're able to tie up the series. Huge sigh of relief, I think, for members of Abyss, because it was very close to being a 3-1 for Kingpins after they had such a dominant lead on push. That's the thing about push with this map mode. It can go so back and forth, and teams can push it so far in overtime. And so every fight is critical. All right, the match is now back to 2-2. Both these teams are even. They still need to win 2 more maps, and Kingpins here is going to have the next map pick.
And which it's going to be Escort, which is... Escort is unfortunately that kind of map where most of them are good for that poke style with that Pharah Mercy. So now you basically need to come down to what map is going to prevent that the most. And the immediate answer is, well, let's just head over to Circuit Royale. Let's keep in Classy. Let's put them over on the hard hit scan like the Widowmaker or maybe the Hanzo. And you should be able to run it down that way. But Abyss, if they really wanted to still force it, they 100% can still force it. Because at this point, it's clearly working, and it's clear that Kingpins is in a panic to be able to make it work as well, because we see them swap. They do it nearly as well, and we really thought that was the end right there, getting rid of Pip. But Blue Roses being able to get that res, we see a ton of stall from Pip, enough for Stop You to be able to get back in and do enough damage to be able to get rid of these DPS. And honestly, it's such a great display for Abyss to come back to where it looks like they were going to lose their 50-meter advantage and lose that map. That stall at the end, the ability to come back and focus these targets. It's sloppy, but it works out, and now it needs to work out for Escort, a map that they should realistically win, but you never know.
And we do know what the next map is going to be. It's going to be Shambali. And so teams are not opting to play Circuit Royale. So it'll be interesting. I'm expecting to see a bit more of the mirror, probably more of that SIG comp. We also might see that Far Mercy ball comp. I know both these teams, when they were playing Shambali, I think Kingpins was playing against Galactic Penguins last week. We saw Shambali. We saw a full hold on point A. And so perhaps trying to run that back. And so, oh my God, I still need to take a breath after that new Queen Street. I think for teams, if they're watching back the VODs, new Queen Street is certainly one to put your blood pressure through the roof, certainly a map to remember, but incredible clutch, incredible play by both sides. Now we're moving over to Shambali Monastery. We're moving over to Escort. And so I'm expecting to see a lot more of that Far Mercy ball comp, actually. And I'm curious to see if Kingpins is going to opt for that mirror or if they're going to go back to the SIG comp.
Honestly, it does depend a little bit, because I think you can make that pharmacy 100% work. But I think the further it goes on, I think the less it's going to potentially work, because that first point does have a lot of open space to be able to work with in the sky. But when you get into second point, that middle section, that it is so terrifying to break through that if you're trying to run that kind of poke style. Like normally we see the brawl versus brawl in that situation. And even to extent, third point is a very similar way, where that very first passageway, if you get held there, it is so tough to be able to break through that. I know it happens rarely, but when it does, it's really hard to break through. So I think honestly, a lot of this matchup is going to come down to how well these teams defend that very first point. And hey, you could make the pharmacy work. I think it is one heck of a gamble, especially it is the defense. I think that Abyss will just mirror either the Sigma or the Rhine on the defense initially, and just mainly swap if it's just getting bulldozed down. Like, that's the only real time I would see them change things up. But we've seen both these teams definitely be willing to swap around their compositions, not just for what's convenient, but for each other. So I'm curious if we're going to see that same swapping mentality here on Shambali.
Yeah, that's the thing about Shambali. It's truly a beautiful map, but it can be so frustrating to play into. We've seen plenty of full holds on point A, point B, and point C. And another thing about Shambali is it really welcomes a lot of different comps. You can run more of that brawl comp, you can run more of that dive comp. And so if there's anything we've seen throughout the series and know to be true, there's a lot of counter swapping. And I think it's going to happen on this map as well. And so we're going to jump into this map soon. I imagine teams are taking advantage of this bit of a break to kind of strategize and figure out how they want to approach this map. But, the score is even 2-2. We have 3 more maps to go. And so I think whichever team is going to win out this point, they are going to be on match point. And so it is going to be a huge advantage for them. And now we just have a few more seconds before we get a preview of what these teams want to run.
Yep, my initial reaction would be the Sigma mirror to start things out here, and we are, it's a...
You're wrong.
All right. we have just evolved into chaos. Oh, this is just the point we reached. We reached a point where, in map 1, the teams ran specifically what they were good at. We saw that. It was very clear what team was better at what. We knew that Abyss was better at this kind of pharmacy style with the ball. We knew that Kingpins was better with the brawl style. And as things have collectively gone down, it's like a mediocre show that goes for more seasons than it should, and we go from a great plot to just utter chaos here in season 5. And now
it is Harmony Tier after all.
It is Harmony Tier. I expect this out of Abyss, but Kingpins just now they're just indulging with the chaos now.
All right, we finally get what we were promised: the Far Mercy ball mirror. And so we're truly going to see which team is more dominant on this. I think Eternal and Pip have really been having the upper hand over their counterparts on the Pharah and the ball. And we'll see if they're able to keep up that advantage as they slowly move the cart up the streets of Shambali.
Yep, for the time being, you just see Eternal just hit away over at this corner, but Vex actually going to be able to stop you to start things out here. So now you just see that aggression from Eternal, who's going to manage to find one, looking to be able to stop them from getting that res, because Weezy is in a really good position, but Pip is able to stall it out for a while to be able to stop the res. Going to try to come through on it. He's going to nearly pave their life to be able to do so, and it eventually is going to work out. Classy Turtle going to clean up both the Pharah and the Mercy and make that the 3K. Wants to go for that 4K, but Stop You not able to escape the wrath of Bard, and Kingpins with an excellent start here on Shimbali.
At the very least for Abyss, they were holding it very close to Kingpin's spawn, but Kingpins is able to break that open, is able to get that picks, and when you have a Soldier, you know, Soldier just does such a good job of outputting that damage and picking off members of Abyss. However, well, the thing is, Pip rolls in with the ball, is able to disrupt, and as we saw on New Queen Street, balls are able to really disrupt, and they're very hard to take down.
Yeah, and that was really tough because Pip could have been taken out by Classy if they just simply, like, hit those shots, but catch a lucky break for now. Blue Rose is not in a very similar position, nearly gets hit with that direct, but Bard not able to make it happen. But that is a direct right there, manages to get rid of Eternal with the double tap, and now it's Pip going to come in with these mines to try to cause as much of a stall as possible. They still have their lifeline ready to go, but this is going to be an insanely tough point to hold. I think that Abyss just have to get in a situation to back out here shortly, because it's really just Stop You with the Mercy, trying to keep them up for as long as they possibly can, but it's somehow working out. Stop You gets rid of Classy Turtle. We see it come online, that Guardian coming online, Valkyrie just trying to keep people alive, and Abyss, they invest quite a bit to win this one, but Kingpins do just have to back off for now.
That was an incredible stall. We saw Pip rolling away there, trying to find a health pack, but such great team coordination and communication on the side of Abyss. And Stop You contests that point and is able to hold onto the point, wait for his team members to come back. And Eternal here gets that first pick.
Doesn't get the res off, though. The way it falls, they cannot get the res off, so now you're in a 5v4 situation, and I really think if you're Kingpins, you again just have to hit the full back out button, waste 15 seconds, and reset. And that's so devastating at this point, where Abyss is finding a ton of success running this composition, but Kingpins do not want to get caught out. Classy Turtle is in a really weird position, and he's going to get solo barrage. But Eternal going to be taken out after the fact. We do see the revenge, though, on unfortunately going to be caught out, and now this is going to be desperately tough, and Bard finding the one direct, the second, looking for their third. Eternal going to be taken out. It's a lot of stall from Abyss, but Pip is going to be the last one standing, as inevitably they should be able to take this one away.
Or will they? Pip there lives forever, goes for the mines, Ana comes back and soothes her team and goes for the kill. And they're able to pick off Vex. Oh my god, just as we cast our cursed Kingpins, they unfortunately are not able to pick up team point A just yet, and this is last fight territory.
Yeah, but Bart is going to get rid of Blue Roses, who went for that res, not going to pay off, and now Eternal has no mercy to work with. On needs to try to get back in time to help things out and Stop You. They might invest here, 0.32 meters, gonna have to hide away, and somehow Abyss has tried to come back, but they get off the points!
Oh, the C9! Abyss was doing such an incredible job, almost full called Kingpins, but unfortunately Vex comes back with the mines, and Abyss just doesn't touch the point. I think Pip should really have gone for the touch there. As the tank, you have a huge health pool. You should be able to live those mines, but I understand members of Abyss were just really scared to contest that point there, and so Kingpins is able to breathe a sigh of relief. They are able to get this first cap on point A, and they have 2 minutes to push it to point B. Now, looking for some wholesale changes, Kingpins moves back over to the Sig comp. And so on point B, with all those narrow corridors, it is a little bit harder to play the dive comp. And so this might be a bit of an advantage for Kingpins.
Yeah, and this is kind of that advantage that I was talking about with the brawl style in the second point. So now Abyss has to get a little bit creative, as Pip not going to find what they're looking for. They're getting very close, but Eternal needs to make sure to stay up. Same with Blue Roses. They're taking a ton of damage. It's just really hard to work with that, as Pip going to bring out their mines, and we're going to see Eternal invest as well. It's looking like it is going to work out. They do invest the ultimates, and I imagine Eternal might be swapping, but no, they're brought directly back up, and that late death for Vex is going to be devastating for Kingpins, who right now are at a minute and 15 and have not made a whole lot of progress thus far.
Yeah, if there's something we know that Eternal loves Pharah. And so Abyss is able to do a great job holding this point before Kingpins is able to turn it around corner. And so that is a really big advantage for them because Kingpins has to try and push through this tiny choke and take all this poke in the meantime.
Yeah, and somehow Pip not only manages to survive, but Eternal manages to follow up and get rid of Vig. So now you've lost your Baptiste, you lose your central area of healing. You have a lot of ultimates, but just because you have the ultimates doesn't mean you should unnecessarily push that 4v5. So they're just gonna have to back up and wait and hopefully not get picked off again in the meanwhile.
It's 30 seconds left. This is final fight territory. Kingpins does have 5 ults coming online. Unfortunately, they lose their Lucio and the beat first.
Oh my god, that's devastating, but you do lose Pip, and that is potentially just as devastating. But Eternal doesn't want to sit down quietly. We see right now Bart in the backline just trying to get out with their lives, but to stop you, make sure to run it down. And now Vig trying to make sure to stop you at bay. But we see that pressure constantly coming through, and that card has rolled back considerably. And now they're going to back out a little bit here, reset with these ultimates, because Kingpins have all 5. But we see the investment, the beacon to come online to keep everybody up. And Abyss want to win this right here, right now. Eternal comes with the barrage. They found the one looking for and stop you. Gonna be able to find that, eventually going to be taken out at the same time. And now Vex just trying to survive for as long as humanly possible. They find one of their own, but unfortunately, we see the last touches coming through. Classy Turtle gonna be sent up in the mines, and Abyss able to make a very, very good hold here on second point. Kingpins just did not know what to do themselves after that very first fight.
Kingpins had 5 ults in the bank, but unfortunately, they just were not able to overcome the members of Abyss, who had several ults there themselves. So they were able to breathe a sigh of relief after capping point A, but they don't get it much further than that. So Abyss knows how far they need to push it, and luckily, getting it to this point after point A is not too hard. And so I'm assuming Abyss is going to keep running this far Mercy dive. They've been doing a great job on it. The real question is Kingpins going to mirror the far Mercy, or are they going to move over to the sitcom? Honestly, I feel like the sitcom has been struggling quite a bit into the far Mercy dive from Abyss. And so if I were them, I think you just perhaps go for the mirror here. They do have the advantage of being on defense, so it is a little bit easier for them to kind of bunker down and try and take less poke. And here we just see these Pharahs popping off, the far Mercy battles happening in the sky. And my god, this does make for such an exciting series.
It's very exciting because this isn't just a clash of two styles anymore. This is a clash of two teams that are trying to do everything they possibly can to come away with the win here today. Everything that you have worked for is in this very moment right here. And, you know, sometimes you need to change up the playbook that you've been using for months on end, because that's just what Overwatch is. It is a game where things are constantly changing and constantly moving around to where you can't run the same 5 heroes for, 5 maps in a row and expect the same result. But, what? Hello? Server?
Okay, it looks like we do get into a pause. Honestly, Blizzard servers, said this match was just way too sweaty and so needed to take a break after watching all of this incredible gameplay coming out from both teams. So we are going to take a pause. I'm sure we'll be back in server soon. But I have to say, these teams, they've been so dominant throughout the season, but I think they're really leveling it up tonight because they are playing for the championships. And so both these teams have demonstrated incredible flexibility and also incredible patience. Even when they lose members of the team, they're doing a great job of not worrying about that and still taking fights and using ultimates to swing fights around. And that's really coming out great. And so these teams are able to, win out fights that they don't seem to have any business winning, but also losing fights they shouldn't be losing. And so this match is truly so back and forth. These teams are so evenly matched. And this is just an incredible series.
It 100% is, and I really want to see where the rest of this map goes. But of course, we do have to make sure the difficulties are nice and cleaned up first and foremost. So we are going to take that quick little break for y'all. But please stick around because there's plenty of action still to come.
That's when you remember who you are. Over there tomorrow when we're alright. That's when we forget just who we are. Make us come together and we're alright. That's when you remember who you are. Remember who you are.
Welcome back, everybody. This entire series so far has been a nice bundle of chaos, whether that has been a lot of the Pharah and Ball comps, whether all the swaps we've seen, but of course, the lovely, lovely servers of Overwatch, as we do have a little bit of a predicament, so we're going to quickly explain how this is going to go down. Now, the progress that Kingpins managed to get, which they ended up getting past first point, and got 27.76 meters progress. So what we are going to do is Abyss is now going to go on their attack. So basically, while you're not going to see the progress that Kingpins made, we do know what they need to get to. So as long as Abyss makes it past that meterage, the map will end there. They will take away that map win. But as long as Kingpins can hold them before that, they will take the win instead. So as long as we're clear on where that point is at, everything should be very straightforward. But oh boy, good old
It's
servers
not
doing the work.
easy. I do not envy either of those teams. I do not wish I were in their position, because the hard part is there won't be a line drawn in the sand. And so it's making it hard for both Kingpins and Abyss. They know they need to push it 27.76 meters, but they don't know where that is exactly, because it is Overwatch, but it is going to be hard to figure that out. And so we've seen a lot of C9 throughout this series. That could certainly happen again. There's no one else in comms, no one telling them where the line is, so they're just going to have to take their best guess. So Abyss here is going to go over on the attack. Kingpins is going to go on the defense. Honestly, I think the fact that we don't know where the line is actually an advantage for Abyss, because Kingpins doesn't know where they need to come. They don't know where they need to run to, where they need to contest the cart, where they need to stop that C9. And so both these teams are going to go back to the mirror, and we're going to enter Shambali once again for the second half of this map and see if Abyss can get that first checkpoint and push it towards the finish line.
Yep, it's definitely going to be still a little bit of a challenge, because as we kind of mentioned before, that first point is going to be the hardest to break through in this fashion, because it's really a better experience as the defense to be able to try to hold on to this point as long as you can, as we're to see Vex just be back to causing chaos, and Bard actually managed to find the direct to get rid of Eternal. You're in such a weird position where you're probably not going to be able to set up the rest, and Bard finds another direct, so now Kingpins doing a really good job. Bard on their third, by the way, looking for their fourth, going to get it. What an amazing job out the gate from Kingpins, and that boop going to send Pip flying back to their potential death, but they are going to get the Mega and stay alive.
Bard also dominant performance on the Pharah shows that he can match up to Eternal. Good there with a 4K, taking off 1 minute from this map. So Abyss is regrouping. No ults coming up online yet, but Bard is coming up to an ult soon. But Kingpins loses their soldier immediately.
Yeah, but that is a decent trade out overall, because Pip is going to go down, so now you get rid of that stall tool. But Bard is in a really weird situation where they need to find a direct here. It's so very important, as Bard is just trying to fly around, make sure they stay alive. They found the first direct, but not the second. Now they have that barrage ready to go. This has to find the opportunity to use it, and it's looking like Stoppy was in their sights, but they are just got the backup for the time being, just trying to find the direct. But Eternal and Blue Roses just making sure to stay out of that. They want nothing to do with that barrage, but still, half of their time is already depleted away. Abyss just has no momentum on their side right now.
The Soldier and Kiriko on the side of Abyss dealing with a ball in the backline, trying their best to kill off Vex, who goes down to 1 health, but Vex lives. And on the other side of the point, Bard pops the barrage, is able to kill off Pip and Ana. And so Kingpin's here doing a really good job on the defense, holding out this point, using the ball to stall the point, preventing Abyss to push this cart. It seems like this whole server closing has really reinvigorated Kingpins, and they know every single meter counts. And so they're trying to hold on to this point and hold on, prevent Abyss from capping for as long as possible.
Yeah, and we're going to see them just kind of zone this out a little bit. Classy Turtle not able to find any value, as we're going to see Stoppy bring their own back. And in fact, the nades as well. Classy Turtle not going to be able to escape. And now they need to just find one more to be able to bring this in their favor. And it looks like they are going to. But we do see in that backline, Vex kind of still hanging around, inevitably trying to get rid of Weezy, and is going to be successful in doing so. So Abyss needs to find as much progress as humanly possible and make sure to watch out Vex, who currently is still in the backline.
Okay, there's only 60 seconds left, and the thing about Shambali, we've seen so many full holds before point A. Vex here on the flank. I'm not sure about this barrage that doesn't seem to get anyone. I don't know, but Bard goes down so low there. Unfortunately, they aren't able to get the pick, and Vex is doing his best just to stall this point here in the back.
An incredible stall as well. They just don't have the enough pressure. You have the pharmacy out trying to do their own thing because they have their own pressure they need to create, and now we see themselves in such a weird situation. They're going to come online with the mines. Nobody going to be caught in it, but you do separate a lot of these members, and you see Eternal gets so unbelievably low, and Blue Roses as well as Bard's going to find the second direct, and now we're at 12 seconds and counting. This one is coming down to a Bard, inevitably going to take it out. Oh yeah, trying to survive for as long as they can. Eternal has found a second, looking to find themselves the third. It's Clash Eternal trying to survive for as long as they can. You see the Kiriko doing their best to keep them up. That reload could be deadly at the end of the day, though, as we see that stall coming through. Big gonna be able to barely get out of there, but he's gonna get hit with the 180, and now it's just Vex trying to survive on the point for as long as they can. Unfortunately, it'll be such a hard situation with all these nades. It is not going to be able to touch again. Not necessarily a C9, but unfortunately, just didn't have the ability to make it back.
Okay, this is where it gets difficult. Abyss luckily is able to get this point cap on point A, which is so important, and they're taking a percentage, and I don't even know if Kingpins can touch.
27.76, 27.76. They have it. That is it. That is map. 27.76 meters. That is map. It is going to go to Abyss, and they're going to be up 3-2 in the series. That, oh my gosh. It seemed like for a minute that Kingpins was going to potentially full hold that. Like, Abyss didn't get into that last little section until like a little under a minute compared to Kingpins, who was there like 2.5 minutes left on their own attack.
That was an incredible defense there from Kingpins, and particularly Bard on the Pharah, just hitting direct after direct, and really able to get the picks and kill off members of Abyss. However, in that last fight, it's nearly overtime. Eternal from Abyss comes back and says, "Not on my watch," and Eternal shows Bard how it's done on Pharah. Eternal gets a lot of those picks and is able to help Abyss cap point A when it was looking so dire in those final moments. And that's the thing about when you only need to push it 27 meters, and Kingpins has lost that fight at point A, and so they're just not able to regroup fast enough. So it was a bit of an anticlimactic ending, to be honest. The difference was when Abyss was defending, they C9'd point A. And so all of the members of Abyss were actually still there. And so Kingpins had members respawning, and Abyss was able to take that quick fight early into point B. And that's where they were able to stop this cart before the cart even turned the corner, making it very easy for Abyss on their attack to push it home free with not a single person on Kingpins able to contest.
Yeah, and both of these teams, like especially at this point, Abyss, have this ability to kind of make the chaos work, because we see teams that are very much a system team. They work really well, whether that's with the brawl, sometimes they work better with the dive or with the poke. But what we've seen out of both these teams is the ability to function on practically anything. We have seen the Sigma, we have seen the Ball, we've seen the Junker Queen, we've seen the Orisa, the Reinhardt. We've seen so many variations here today, and this isn't a call out the upper divisions because the meta is the meta, but we'll see the same Sigma comp almost every single map. So this refreshment of seeing so many different styles, so many different characters, it's really awesome to see both of these teams really flex their chops and see how many heroes and compositions they can play.
I can attest, playing in GM and as flex support, I think I've been locking BAP for a few months straight now. Not that I'm complaining, I personally love playing BAP. Although I know a lot of flex supports will actually out there will disagree with me, but I think it's incredible, and I agree. Such a breath of fresh air to see this incredible flexibility and adaptability from Kingpins and Abyss here in Harmony Tier. And I think we've seen so much of the Overwatch roster, almost the entire thing, and we're about to run it back all the way to the beginning. We're gonna go back to Control, and Kingpins here down 2-3, but this match has truly been back and forth. But Kingpins here is going to have the map pick, and they're actually going to pick Samoa.
agree with this map pick at this point. I think we've lost. I kind of mentioned it kind of before, where I think that because it was a newer map, it had this ability to kind of be a random pick. But I think enough time has passed where these teams have practiced this map enough times to know the ins and outs enough to know where they need to go, where the megas are at, what the best routes are to go. So the real question is honestly what Kingpins want to run. I think at this point we realize what they're going to try to run. There is a lot of open air to make that pharmacy work, and this is just the answer we need to see from Kingpins. Are they going to attempt to mirror back that pharmacy style, or are they going to go back to that style with that soldier instead to try to make things a little bit easier in the air? Because so far, this is no shot on Bard. Bard has been doing absolute work on that Pharah, but the more chaotic these maps and these compositions become, the more it's working out for Abyss.
That's right. But now we see a substitution coming back, and Doha is going to come in for Classy. And so I'm expecting more of that Sim May comp. Kingpins here really likes to run that kind of, or perhaps that Bastion really likes to run that flex DPS. The thing about Samoa is each point is so different. You have Beach, Downtown, and Volcano. Volcano is definitely much more of a brawl point, a little bit more indoors, where Ryan and Sigma love to play. But Beach and Downtown are very, very open. And so here we're getting a preview of Beach.
Ooh.
And we get to, the crabs are out here enjoying the match just as all of us are. And so here we are going to see, we're going to go back to the Brawl comp, so no Farm Mercy just yet, but I do bet if we do go over to Downtown, we will see the Farm Mercy yet again.
Where are those crabs going? Crabs, where are you going? Off the edge? They're just going off the edge, going back into the ocean, having a lovely time. They kind of just gave up their front row seats. I mean, if we could take those instead, I'm sure it's a nice place to watch the match, but you are correct about that. And this is going to be a bit of a differing style because Abyss running the Symmetra feels a little weird, I'm going to be honest with you. I realize that they want to use the TP to jump directly onto people like Bard, like Vig, but the way that Kingpins is currently set up, it's going to be really difficult to make that happen. Right now, they're just waiting for their opportunity. The TP is going to come online, and just like that, they're going to separate them a little bit, try to find either Vig or Weezy, but neither are going to be taken down, and now the point's going to open up to start things out here, and Bard going to be the very first one to fall, and now already Kingpin's going to be in a really rough situation, but Pip is currently being taken out of the fight. Run down to the center, they're so low, the support is there to aid them, and now Vex having a really hard time breaking through this, and now all that damage from the Symmetra is going to eventually pay off, stop you getting a couple final blows, in Abyss able to take that first fight win.
That was incredible patience and incredible peel from Abyss. Abyss here is running that Symmetra and that Bastion, and so they're looking for the TPs, but they're being very patient in how they're playing it. And although they TP'd and they weren't able to get an immediate pick, they were able to turn around and focus down targets of Kingpin. And there, when Pip was looking so dire, they had already used the lamp, and they dropped down. Oh, they were able to save their Rhine, but here, they popped the window, are able to get the first pick onto Doha.
And with Doha down and out Vig as well, obviously you have to hit the reset button. You just have to back out. The singular bright side is, obviously you get out a super strong ultimate, but now Vex is going to have that Flux online ready to go. It's going to be an especially powerful tool, but honestly, they need to go somewhere else besides this indoor area. You have to go around because Abyss isn't just going to give it to you for free.
Exactly. Abyss has so much damage and poke. They're really holding this building and preventing Kingpins from pushing in here.
Yeah, and that Immortality Field is going to come online, going to save everybody, as now we see the investment from Abyss. They put in both of the DPS ultimates, hoping to find something, but the wall from Doha stops that progress. That Shatter hitting nothing but blue. By blue, I don't mean Abyss, but still, this is a 5v4 fight. Doha going to invest the freeze, going to find multiple members, but guess who wasn't frozen? Blue Roses, but eventually they get frozen at the end. And now, this is potentially that final fight territory, and finally, Vex going to help clean things up here. Kingpin's eventually going to take this, but Abyss still going to get 85% in the process.
Oh no, poor Blue there. It looked like Blue had lived and Stop You and Pip were out of LOS of the enemy Kingpins. But Blue should have been able to keep up her team, but Vex recognizes it and Vex pushes in. So even though they lose members of their team early, they're able to turn around that fight. Luckily, Abyss does have 85%. They do have both support ults coming online. They only need to win out one more team fight.
Yep, and now they're going to force their way onto the point. They want to force people like Kingpins into an uncomfortable position, but instead, we're seeing them come up, and that's an excellent rock onto Eternal, who's going to be taken out as a result, and the bee is not going to catch them. And now Bard has a nice day at the shooting range, but very smart, you see, from the side. Pip going to go back inside along with the rest of the Abyss, make that fight go indoors, so Kingpins have to back off in the 4v4, and in fact, they have to majorly hide away and back off now as they cannot be in view of that window. Vex, getting this flux is so very important for this final fight coming up here. Big gonna get super low, and that investment not going to work out as the flux is gonna come online. The immortality field is going to come online in time to keep all in all still up in the fight. And now it's 99% coming online. The beat gonna be aggressive here. Pip has the shadow ready to go, comes online, once again hits Blue, but not the Blue that they needed. Bard eventually gonna fight onto Eternal. Pip gonna get some nice little revenge, but Pip is in such a bad situation that inevitably the rest are going to fall directly afterwards. Abyss cannot hold on. Kingpins bring it back, and Pip cannot hit anything with this shatter.
Pip, I don't know if he hasn't turned his monitor on, but there's no Reinhardt on the enemy side. Like, Pip needs to be hitting these shatters, especially when there's no Rhine, but he keeps being countered by a Mei. He's hit Doha's wall, he's hit Doha's ice block. Pip, I need you to land these shatters. I'm sure that's what members of Abyss are chanting in his ear. Now, there is a sim wall coming online that is a huge advantage here for Abyss, as Abyss just looks to bunker here underneath the point.
Yeah, and they're a little split up for the time being, so it is going to work out. We see a heavy investment. Pip goes for the pin, and in fact, they're going to be cut off for the time being. But in fact, they're being pinned off from multiple sides. The Flux going to come online. Pip and Stop You going to drop directly after that fact, and Kingpins looking to bring this one back fully. It's just down to all now who's going to have that beat ready to go, who's going to have to invest it, as Pip going to be trying to come back on that bolt to make the magic happen. But Doha, 99% to that freeze, and now all Doha has to do is throw in the golden blue box to be able to take this one away. And in fact, Pip is going to be on the receipt, and every damage in the world can be thrown onto their face, but it's still not enough. Eventually, it will be onto Eternal, and now we just see the stall coming through for Abyss, who's trying to make the magic happen, but inevitably, with Blue Roses being the last one to touch, Kingpins is going to be able to come back on that one and take the first round.
Oh my god. You know, after all this clutch and all these C9s in the last few maps of this series, I have to say, Abyss, this was kind of unclutch. Abyss had the ult advantage, but they just popped the sim wall too late. I think Stop You should have, if they're going to go for that bunker play, they should have. I love this replay. Huge shout out to OBS here, to Prod. But I think Stop You, they went for the bunker play. I think they just needed to sim wall earlier, but their Rhine charges in. I don't know about that play. Pip charges in a little bit too deep, too far, and his team sacrifices his positioning to try and save him. Unfortunately, they lose 2 members there on that last team fight. They had the ult advantage. They should have won out that team fight. But they do get to breathe a sigh of relief as we're now moving over to Downtown. Downtown is a wide open map, is great for the dive, and that's why Abyss is coming out here on the Far Mercy and Ball Comp. So hopefully they can do a bit of better job here on this point and be able to clutch it up a little bit more.
Yeah, and you're seeing the members of Kingpin don't want to get too separated from each other because they do work best as a group of 5. They do not want to split up and become like 2 different groups or 3 different groups, because Bard is going to be the first one to be caught out now. You do see Vex coming back with that pick on to Stop You, so now you get rid of a lot of that presence, but we just see that tech coming in through Pip, who's trying to get rid of Big, who's super low, and inevitably this ball comp looks to be trying to pay off Big, who has been surviving like crazy, but unfortunately, it's not going to be enough. And Kingpins already in this weird situation where they might have to reconsider what they want to try to run here, because this pharmacy is just going to be near untouchable on this Rhine comp.
Yeah, members of Abyss trying so hard to pick off Vig there, but incredible peel from his team, and now Kingpins is going for wholesale changes. They are also moving to the Far Mercy mirror with the ball, with the soldier, and so we do get to enjoy this It's certainly a lot of cooking from both sides and also a lot of fun to watch. And so here we are. It is going to be a little bit of a disadvantage for Kingpins trying to be the attacking team, but they are able to get the first pick on the enemy soldier.
Yeah, and they use the mines to be able to keep members away, but unfortunately, Eternal's gonna go for that, and it's gonna pay the price. Doha gonna be the only one to drop, and honestly, this is on Kingpins to be able to clear out Pip as fast as they possibly can, because the last thing you want to do is give this team 15, 20 extra bits of meterage, and now we kind of just see 2 remaining on the point. Pip does manage to find Wheezy, but that really should be the last bit of attack here, but still, Pip is causing a ton of stall. What should have been like a 30% point capture is now becoming 50 plus, as they just need to hit 1 hit onto Ana and eventually going to do so. Eternal and Pip extremely low and finally are going to see the end of that, but Abyss, Pip specifically, just bought them almost 30% worth of time.
Huge stall here by Abyss. And that's the thing, when you have a ball lives forever. And you need all members of Kingpins to be focusing down that ball to really take him down. We've all played in those ranked games where there's just an enemy ball in your backline that just lives forever, and it can be so frustrating. So great stall here by Abyss. And so they are looking here to take out different angles as they look to attack Kingpins.
Yeah, and you are going to see Stop You get harassed, and it's eventually going to get boomed off the edge by Vex! Stop You got hit with the 1-2, and Vex going to help out get rid of Ana as well. So now it's down to the members of the Abyss to survive with as many people as possible and get out. Pip should be able to be a good recipient of that. Eternal, unfortunately, not in the same camp as right now. Kingpins, upon switching to this composition, have just been making this magic work, and now they are so close to being able to tie up the series.
Yep, and that's the thing about this point is with the stall potential giving us shades of Oasis City Center, you know people just will play around that center column and live forever. And so Abyss is going to have a hard time trying to break open this point hold from Kingpins.
Yeah, we see a lot of harassment, but Bard has managed to find Ana, so you get rid of that, and now we see over on the side. It's Doha trying to make the magic happen. They found 2 of their own, looking for a third. Pip extremely low, trying to escape with their lives. Stop You in the same boat, but eventually going to be taken out, and now Abyss is going to be in desperation mode to get a proper touch on this point.
Just a Kiriko ult and a visor invested by Kingpins, matching 2 invested by Abyss. This is last fight territory as King Points is ticking up to 92%. They do have a Kryy visor. Hopefully they can get the same picks that Kingpins were able to get. However, they are trying to play patient, hold this as long as possible.
That's a massive bump down, and eventually they're gonna get them! Vex reads it like a glove, and unfortunately, that might be the crux that forces that 7th map Ana trying to come back on the Lucio, and the Battle Mercy is on the scene! We see Kingpins trying to close things up, Pip trying to make it back, trying to stall for as long as possible for Ana to be able to get back into the fight. Able to eventually be able to assist, but both of them already so desperately low. Loses back into the fight, and Pip getting all the healing in the world, but unfortunately it just continues to fall apart. It's just the full stall, the full desperation to be able to survive and stall to make the miracle happen. Doha eventually gonna drop, but Kingpins bring it back, and they're going to force a 7th and final map.
Oh my god. Kingpins makes the necessary swaps mid-map on this point. They swap over to the mirror, the Far Mercy ball dive, and they're able to just hold on to this point better than Abyss were. I think Abyss was really struggling. A lot of their supports were getting picked off first, and so they were having a hard time sustaining in these messy fights where they're taking damage and poke from so many different angles. So Kingpins is rewarded with this map win. And Hunter, at least on one front, I was correct. We are going to a 7-map series, but we still have yet to find out who is going to be our Tranquility Harmony Tier champion.
Yeah, this is crazy. Like, I mean, we've been in Overwatch long enough to kind of have this perception that a lot of these grand finals, like especially you look at something like the Overwatch League, or even like contenders in some senses, it ends up being kind of disappointing. It's a lot of 4-0s, it's a lot of 4-1s, and you have that fear going into a finals that should be close, but sometimes isn't. But we've seen both these teams give their absolute all here today. run all these different compositions, and some of them paying off. Unfortunately, some of them not, unfortunately. But that's just the game of Overwatch. And now, the ability to get to a 7th and final map, it feels kind of insane, but it's so exciting to see both these teams give their all, run these different compositions, and especially this play right here. In my mind, that is the play of the game right there. From that boop on to stop you off of the high ground, like, realistically, the Pharmacy should be dead after that fact. But that boop, that singular boop, that is like the butterfly effect. That is where we went off into a different timeline where we go to this 7th map. And I am so excited to be able to witness this. But, you know, all these considered, it has already been a very long day. And a lot of these teams need to be able to give themselves a quick moment to prepare what is very likely the most important map that they have played in a very long time. So we are going to oh boy.
Take a breather ourselves.
It's been a long day.
Well, so we are going to go over to a break. Allow these teams one final moment to catch their breath before Abyss picks the final map of this 7-map series and see which team goes home the champion.
Smash that.
Smash that.
Welcome back, everybody. It has been one heck of a day so far, an absolute back and forth between the two best teams in the Harmony tier this season. But of course, both of these teams cannot be our champions. It's going to come down to one final map. This is what Overwatch should be. This is what we hope for. Maybe not our throats necessarily what we hope for, but everything else, the excitement levels, everyone who's watching, and maybe in some retrospective players, this is what you hope for. And honestly, Ashen, at this point, it feels like a bit of a toss-up, doesn't it?
It does. These teams have been so close and so evenly matched throughout this series. It's truly gone back and forth. As we've seen in the map records, it's, one team goes up, one team ties it, one team goes up, one team ties it. But now we are here on our 7th and final map. It is Escort, so there are no ties possible. There will absolutely be a winner, be a champion determined at the end of this map. So Abyss has picked Circuit Royale, which, Hunter, you and I were just discussing over the break. It's a very interesting pick because it is a little bit more difficult for a Far Mercy to be run here, although I have seen it happen. It's also Harmony tier, so I don't know if, running that double sniper Zen Bap comp is also going to be the best idea here, but it is very interesting. I've seen a lot of different comps played from that standard Sig, double sniper poke. I've also seen, more of that Rhine Rush. I've seen TP, I've seen Bastion, I've seen Far Mercy. So no matter what we see, I know it's going to be an amazing map.
Yeah, and the biggest thing I'm curious out of, which, in my perspective, is going to be Abyss's defense. I imagine they can come out with the Pharmacy on their initial attack just fine, but I'm worried about what they're going to try to run on the defense, because when you're on Escort on defense, you need to have something that's going to be able to kind of stall out the cart a little bit. So we are going to see Abyss going to be on the attack first, as Kingpins coming out on, this is exactly what you would expect, like almost to a T. But Abyss still cooking a little bit in the kitchen, and are they going to try Nanoblade with Eternal? Is that a possibility?
I did see them run a similar comp last week when they actually were playing Circuit against the other team. And so it will be interesting to see. As we discussed, it is Harmony tier. We're not going to see Widow, Hanzo, Zen, and Bap. Although, I have a very hot take about this map. I actually really enjoy Circuit, which I know everyone.
Stop the payload.
Very different comps. So, they just ignore the map type, said we're going to play our own game. And so, Eternal here on the Genji is really going to be looking to dive with it.
Yep, and it's immediately the good pressure from Abyss to be able to force people around, but Eternal actually can be the first one to drop, and honestly, that is kind of your worst-case scenario. You want to be able to get that blade as fast as possible. Same thing with Blue Roses. Right now, we just need Pip being an absolute menace in the backline, gonna be able to survive just by a little bit, and is gonna force the rest of Kingpins to kind of back out for the time being, but they still have good coverage. Abyss isn't out of the woods yet. They still need to open up this next fight. In doing so, they really need to get either Doha or Vig if they want to make a big impact in this fight. So we're just gonna have to wait and see, as they're gonna be setting up the dive, and it's coming in strong, looking for that. The rock is gonna hit Pip somehow. I'm a little surprised it did, but still, Doha was distracted long enough, and now this could be a very bad situation, as Vig needs to try to be able to stay alive to keep Vex in the running. As we're gonna see that power drive come down, the dash coming alive, getting super low, but Bard gonna be the next one to drop, and now it is a 5v3 situation. You can see Doha trying to get back as quickly as they possibly can. Vex trying to use every little resource that they have, but still is absolutely struggling in the backline. But Eternal not able to get back to Blue Roses in time, so now Abyss is going to have to back out for the time being.
Oh, that fight looks like it was all going in the way of Abyss. So even though Kingpins only has a few members there, that's the thing about a Sigma, is a Sigma can live for so long. Vex is able to live and contest that point for so long, waiting for members of his team to come back and also contest the members of Abyss. Unfortunately, Eternal gets caught out there, and so Abyss has to regroup. However, they do have several arts coming up online, including the mines, including the Nano Blade as well.
Yeah, and that beat is going to be the biggest thing for this Kingpins team, who need to be able to stay alive through it. And now we're actually going to see that window come online first and foremost. Big is up in the air, throws down the Immortality Field early to be able to stay alive. Stop you going to be that first one to fall. And now Abyss with a tough decision in their hands of whether or not to throw out that Nano Blade. They are about to have it, but in the 3v4 situation, you just have to retreat, try to keep everybody alive. But Pip not going to be as lucky, and they're going to go for it. They're going to send it through. He's gonna be the first one to drop. He's gonna find 2, gonna find 3. Eternal looking for the 4th. They have turned that back around with just the single Nano Blade. Doha, the last one, or Bard, the last one on the point, does manage to get rid of Blue Rose, but nobody is gonna get back to touch. They pull out the gamble, and it works out for Eternal and the rest of Abyss.
Eternal knows how to put his team on his back and knows how to clutch it out. So there they go for the Nano Blade, even while having only 3 members of his team alive. And Eternals is able to get the 4 picks necessary to push this payload past point A. And now we're into point B, and Abyss is going for some wholesale changes. They're going back to the Rhine and Symmetra TP strategy. So they'll probably have someone in cart while they're looking to move the team around. Honestly, I think they should be continuing to move this point. Okay, we do have a Mei pushing the point. Hopefully, Pip, there's no more Mei, there's no more Ryan. Pip, you can't
that
get
is
the shutter
a
off.
deep investment. That's a really deep and unnecessary investment right there. I think they were still fine just trying to push that cart for as long as they could, because like clearly they weren't really preoccupied with the cart. They were preoccupied with the Reinhardt in their backline, and now this is going to be a long little bit of time that you're going to lose that you're really going to wish you still had.
Yeah, I think Abyss just needs to play a little bit more patiently. And to be honest, I don't know if they're taking full advantage of the Sim TP throughout the series, but they do seem to prefer this comp. At least they can avoid a lot of the poke as they try to maneuver here out in the open. And they're going to try and rush onto this backline of Kingpins.
And Pip is just getting rocked every time they put themselves in the open. Oh no, it's going to go down first. I'm going to be really honest. I think you either stop playing this comp or you need to take it directly to point instead. Because right now, you're getting no progress trying to do this weird wraparound that's just getting zoned out every single time.
Yeah, Abyss really seems to be on the back foot here. And the thing is, they're losing fights so early, so it's so hard for them to build the ults necessary to try and run over Kingpins. Vex does have a Sigma ult coming online, and Stop You has listened to my call, has decided to forego the Sim, moving towards the Ashen, but unfortunately gets picked off first.
Yeah, and they're going to invest this as well. They need to just die. Don't worry about trying to keep people alive. Take the deaths as quickly as possible, move on. You're forcing ults out of Kingpins, which is fantastic, but they have made virtually 0 progress over the last 90 seconds.
Okay, Abyss really struggling here, but they do have a minute 15 in the bank, and they do finally have ults coming online. Kingpins has invested 1 ult per fight. They do have an overclock, and a soldier ult visor is going to come up halfway through this fight. Oh my god.
It's out. It is out though, so we are looking to catch somebody, but all that healing being knocked inward, eventually going to take care of them, and now the shatter has to be massive. It's going to find the last 3 members. It's going to clean them all up, and now they need to get as much progress as they possibly can. Vig, you need to be walking backwards, my friend. So Abyss finally gets through, but they invest 3 whole ultimates to make that happen. And now Kingpins likely just going to mirror this back.
Okay, I think that window from Blue Roses was pretty unnecessary. I bet she wishes she has this back. It would be great to window in front of Kingpins as they try to push out. The good thing is they don't really have that many ults in the bank, and this huge Mei wall comes out.
Yep, and now Doha in a bit of a weird situation right now. And that pin is going to be timed expertly, and now Abyss in a really tough situation. They managed to tie things up here. It's really the damage from Stop You that's going to become the biggest thing for this team. And right now, just trying to make sure Stop You stays up. We're so close to that ult, and now the beat's going to come online, and that should signal the end of that fight. Kingpins not able to play on the point any longer. Going to get rid of Bard to finish things out. Abyss finished that one by the skin of their teeth.
Hip holding his shield for as long as he can, just waiting for Ana to build that beat, and luckily Ana was able to. So huge ult there, huge clutch there. They're able to pop the beat, able to have the sustain necessary to overwhelm the members of Kingpins. So Abyss breathes a sigh of relief. They're able to cap point B here on circuit. And now Kingpins are making adjustments as well. Vex has gone over to the Rhine, knowing that his team is going to get shattered if he doesn't have the Rhine shield to block it.
Yep, the Stop You going to bring in the investment. It's going to be a weird situation. Going to try to burn away that Rhine shield. That wall going to come out first and foremost to buy them a little bit of time. It's going to be sent directly back, and now it's the battle of the Shatter. It's going to be stepped through. Going to be blocked on one side. Pip not able to make it happen as the Big B brought back on the other side, and now Vex looks for the Shatter. The wall cuts him off temporarily, but needs to find a pin. It's going to be counter-pinned, and despite Vex hitting a massive Shatter, they're going to be frozen out and inevitably are going to be picked up, and now we see the investment from Bard, who's trying to find picks, and they have managed to find Pip, and now Stop You is going to be unable to stop them, despite Abyss potentially having a miracle there. They are going to have to reset for this final fight.
Oh, Vex shows why he swapped over to the Rhine. He knew Pip had that Shatter and is able to block it. So once again, Vex has the upper hand, is able to block Pip's Shatter and get a 5-man Shatter off. This is last fight territory here.
They can't punch!
I don't know if Abyss can touch!
You saw Ana go back to be able to get Stop You there a little bit quicker, but honestly, I think you should have just let Stop You switch to something that had more mobility and get Ana to that point, because you knew they had freeze. You know they're going to have the May wall, the counter charge. You have to send somebody who 100% can get that touch, and unfortunately, that's just one of those mistakes you make in the heat of the moment, and it might be that mistake that comes back and haunts you weeks and months down the line.
Yeah, that's tough. That Shatter is, once again, one that's gonna echo in the memories of these players. Luckily for Abyss, they're unfortunately not able to cap point C, but they do get it pretty far close to point C, and they do know where the line is drawn. They know what they need to do in order to get this championship. They need to prevent Kingpins from pushing it 75.97 meters past point B. They have their work cut out for them, but it is possible we see plenty of full holds on Circuit Royale on both point A and point B and point C. And so on defense here, Abyss is going for the Rhine Sigma play, or Rhine Bastion. I wonder if they're going to go for a close hold here.
I mean, they have to at this point. If you're going to run that Reinhardt, you have to play way closer than that Sigma, because if you play range against that Sigma and you just get zoned out, you are going to literally accomplish nothing. As here they come, they're going to open things up and go right up against the door, actually. I like how super aggro this is. The problem is Kingpins are just going to start splitting apart at different doors. You already see over on the side, Bard gets stopped you already, so now this is a bad situation. Pip is just going to fling around trying to find a pick. They managed to find one, looking for the second, so they managed to hold things on for the time being. But unfortunately, you lose Blue Roses, Ana directly to follow. So at the end of the day, this stall is going to buy you a solid 30 seconds, which at the end of the day, not bad at all. But you're also going to give up all that initial positioning that you could have had instead.
Abyss needs everything, every moment of defense they can. So they do a good job of holding point there. I'm sure they wish they were able to hold that defense for a little bit longer, but Stop You gets caught off guard by the Bastion over there on the left side. So now Kingpins is going to get this cart rolling, but luckily Abyss is able to take a close fight here on this corner.
Yep, and right now you see all that pressure being brought up top. Doha gonna be taken out with some help from Eternal, and now this is gonna be a really bad situation because Abyss is gonna be able to find more and more picks, gonna be able to potentially do a full cleanup here as well. going to try to get rid of Wheezy, and they're going to accomplish that. And Vig is going to try to survive. It is in a really weird situation, but they should be able to survive as Abyss is going to be able to commit to another close hold at this corner.
Okay, if I am Abyss, I am telling Eternal to back the heck up. You won the team fight. You did an amazing job of hold the point. The last thing you need is a stagger. You cannot get picked off. You need to be able to hold this card for as long as you can.
Yeah, Bard gets hit with that. That's so unfortunate. And now, right now, you're trying to escape. If you're Doha, Pip does need to back up a little bit now. This is good, but you still need to be patient and wait for Kingpins to come to you a bit.
Okay, great patience there by Abyss. A Pip is going for the flank shatter.
I hate it.
Pip! I want to scream on your team's behalf, on your coach, your team's, your parents' behalf. Oh my god, what?
It's a good block.
Pip.
No, that tornado is completely fine, but not when Eternal is probably dead. But we see Stop You gonna send in the investment, going to find nobody with it. But you are gonna be able to keep Eternal alive. That's honestly the most important part of that fight, was keeping Eternal alive.
Okay, thank God there. Popping that Mei ult was able to stop Kingpins before they were able to push.
Oh!
But Vex's Shatter is coming online. We'll have to see if Pip is able to block it.
Vex is literally 1 health right now. It's down to they're going to run the beat. It's going to go back and forth, actually. And now Abyss needs to be able to make some magic happen because Vex has a shatter. If they really want to force the scene to close out, they're going to send it through that window. And unfortunately, that is going to spell the end of that. I don't think Abyss is going to have the ability to come back into this. And I don't think you should try to force it either.
60 seconds.
Abyss, unfortunately, is going to lose. Actually, they are going to go for the touch, but honestly, I think this is a stagger. I don't think this was the best idea. Maybe they're just trying to take time off the clock, and maybe it's possible. Okay. You know what? I spoke too soon.
Yeah, actually, you know what? I'm perfectly fine with this now, with the context. You take off the 20 seconds, and better yet, you forced out Vig's window. That was going to be super important for this next fight, and now things are a little bit different. Kingpin doesn't quite have as big of an ult advantage as they did 10 seconds ago.
Okay, we certainly spoke too soon. We certainly wish the caster curse upon ourselves. So Abyss regroups. Kingpins has 2 minutes 45 to push this to the end of point B. Now Vex still has his first shatter.
Blocked!
Blocks the shatter!
When it comes, most importantly, Pip not only blocks it, but hits 1 or 2 on their own, and now Doha gonna have to take that lonely trip back to the spa room. Pip, you should be so proud of yourself right there. You come away the better Rhyme, but still, 2 minutes counting. Kingpins still have that freeze to work with, but Eternal does as well.
I love that moment there. After Abyss wins that team fight, the whole team is looking at Pip while Pip is jumping up and down, knowing he blocked the shatter and was able to land his own. However, this map is not yet over. There's 2 minutes to go. There are going to be more shatters built up here and more fights to go.
Yeah, and that freeze is going to find onto Wheezy first and foremost, and now Eternal going to fall directly afterwards, but still, this is the fight of Abyss right now. Vex trying to keep these alive for his team. It's a 3v2 for the time being. Vex with a ton of health to work with, trying to slam away. Stop You gets extremely low, but the window's going to come out, and now the full retreat from Abyss as nobody else should get picked off.
Okay, luckily there they were able to force out the window for Vig, so they won't have it for the next fight. Kingpins is only going to have an overclock to work with, while Abyss has both an overclock and both support ults.
Oh my lord! That is a very devastating railgun to take to the head through a window. That is devastating, but Abyss is going to use 2 of their very strongest ults to be able to win that, and we're coming back to potentially that shatter be shatter situation. And for Kingpins, you are running out of time.
Oh my god, there's only 1 minute left. This is the championship on the line. This is something they've been working so hard for months for. So Kingpin still has an overclock going into this fight. They're going to get a beat mid-fight while Pip has the shatter, and we'll see if Pip can land this shatter this time.
They look for it. They're going to manage to find only one. It's going to be Bard, and now Pip is in a seriously bad situation. Vex gets blocked on their own shadow though, and now the B is going to be used from Abyss. They need to find a pick. You see Stop You manages to find Vex to get things going here, but Eternal is going to follow directly after the fact, and now we're in a weird 4v4 situation, and it's the Ajax! Pin manages to get rid of it, and now 15 seconds and counting. Nobody is left to do this. And now Vig is desperately on the side in such a bad situation, and it's just the stall left for Kingpins.
Vig pops the window, prevents himself from dying, able to get the pick onto Stop You, while Abyss is trying to run here and trying to pick him off. They are able, Vex swaps over to the ball, is able to get the point touch, but he's solo, trying his best to stay here as long as he can. And oh my god!
So low. The freeze is online. Loha's caught in it. But the rest of the members are caught as well. Pip needs to be able to try to stay alive, but the fight is flipping back over. We see that had the investment Stop You. Gonna find the first pick. They need to come together on a target together, but inevitably, this is going back into the favor, and they're gonna see the investment from Stop You as well, who's found two of their own. And now the question is, can members of Abyss make it back before the second cap comes through?
This is overtime. The spawns are coming down slow. They're waiting for the small. No, they can touch. They can touch.
They found one. They found the shatter. Incredible. And now Vex has made it back onto the point. Anna gonna be caught out. And now is Pip trying to survive for as long as they can. You just see Vex on the point trying to stall for as long as humanly possible. But they are only going to last so very long with Vig making it back into the fight. So much damage to come through. But Vex is getting all the healing of Vig, who's now found Eternal, but inevitably going to be taken out. And now they just need to try to get rid of Vig, who's desperately trying to survive for as long as humanly possible. So much stall coming through as Vig is going to manage to find blue roses, and neither of these teams wants to go down. But Pip has now found two. Vig is trying to keep everybody alive. Doha, the last he's standing, and we're gonna see that window come through, trying to touch Doha. It's literally one health as the beat comes online. Pip getting solo, the shatter gonna go directly onto Vex, but eventually going to drop down. In this fight, just does not want to come down to an end, and with that freeze from Doha, we should see the end, and Kingpins keeping themselves alive.
Oh my god. My blood pressure definitely went up to 200. I'm sure yours did too, Hunter. That was insane that there were only a couple members left for Kingpins, and Pip trying to come back, trying to touch that point, trying to kill off members of Kingpins. But unfortunately, Vex comes back on the ball, and they're just not able to kill that ball. And Vig is clutching it out with these windows time and time and again, getting picks. And so Kingpins is rewarded with this cap as they move into point C.
That freeze was in a really awkward position, and Pip still gonna be the first one to fall. Abyss losing member after member, and now you just need to stall this point for as long as you can as we see that beat come in as well. Like I said, Abyss, they need to die quickly because this is one fight, and this fight literally should be for everything.
Okay, the beat comes out there, so they don't have it for the last fight. However, this point is moving. I don't even know if Abyss is going to be able to move fast enough to contest. Okay, they are here. They are here. They are going to be able to contest. However, they're walking into a shatter and an overclock.
The shatter find two people, and the immortality is online, but Eternal's not able to stay up. And at the end of the day, tried to take them off from the throne, but there was nobody left to keep them from securing the throne for themselves. Kingpins will be your Season 11 Harmony Tier champions.
Incredible run here. Well played by both teams, but Kingpins comes out on top. They're able to clutch it out time and time again on each of these points, particularly that point B attack. It was so close. They almost lost it, but they were able to come back in time. They were able to get the picks necessary, and they were able to cap that point B. And even though they used the B in that last fight, they had an overclock, they had that shatter, and once again, Vex lands the shatter over Pip, shatters 3 people, and Blue was able to get that lamp out, but just wasn't able to keep her team up enough, and Anna didn't have the beat necessary to counter it. And so Kingpins truly clutch out that fight, and they are rewarded with the championship here in Harmony Tier at Tranquility.
This was probably about as close as a match as you could have hoped for. Obviously, some maps weren't nearly as close, unfortunately, but a lot of them were, oddly enough, and especially here on Circuit Royale, Like, there were so many situations during that second point, that defense from Abyss, where we thought it was over. I was literally about to make the call that it's over, but somehow they're able to come back. Vex literally stalls for a whole century. You have Vig, who's just over on the side and is untouched, that's just constantly hopping around, keeping Vex up, able to get a whole nother window online. That is legitimately incredible that you can come back in such a stressful situation, fight for so long, and are able to bring it back. That I don't think there are perfect words to describe what we just saw Kingpins do, honestly.
Honestly, every single person in the server played so well, but Vig truly showing why he was MVP for this season, and Vex showing why he was a role star. Just incredibly dominant performances on tank and support, as well as a DPS line here. Kingpin's just so strong across the board, they are able to clutch it up. And that's something I'm sure Abyss is just, it's honestly, when these matches are so close, the losses are even harder. If it's a 4-0 easy roll, you know the other team deserves it. But when it's so close, and this last map in particular could have gone either way 100 times, you're going to stay up at night thinking those last few fights over and over and over. And I think a consistent theme we saw throughout this entire series was that Vex will really seem to have the upper hand there on that Rein v Rein matchup. And that really manifested in that last map. We definitely called there were several fights there on Abyss's defense. Pit finally seemed to have it figured out, blocked a few shatters, landed a few shatters as well. But unfortunately, Vex just had his number and was able to come up on the upper hand. Abyss really showing dominant performances, showing their strength on that ball far Mercy dive. But unfortunately, when these maps go back and forth, not every map favors that. And so Kingpins here on Circuit Royale, running the Brawl comp, is able to come out on top.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I think like with that Circuit Royale specifically, I think some of it does unfortunately come back to Abyss's attempts on their attack on point B. How long it took them to make any sort of progress where they could have had an extra fight or two on point C on that very final corner, and this could be an entirely different ball game. Like, I don't understand the ideology, but at the end of the day, you do what you've practiced, you do what you think is best, and at that moment, that is the best call. That's not something that you can look back on with anything but hindsight. Like, you could say like, oh man, we should have done this instead, maybe, but that was your best choice at the time, and I can't blame the members of Abyss for making those choices. Or better yet, as well, Kingpins who made their own mistakes as well, you can't blame them for them either, because at that moment, it just seemed like the best option. So I don't want any players, any teams blaming themselves for what's happened here today, because they have put on one of the biggest bangers that I have seen in quite a long while, and both of these teams should be incredibly proud of their season.
Absolutely. Both these teams played out of their minds today and truly leveled it up, because it is the grand finals. And for both of these teams, it was their first time in playing for the championship. So incredible achievement by both of these teams. Kingpins, of course, rewarded with the victory, will I'm sure be celebrating and inaugurated into the halls of Tranquility history for a long time to come. That being said, Abyss shouldn't be too hard on themselves. I know they're feeling down about their loss. I know they're going to continue thinking about what could have been, but they all played so incredibly well and should be so proud of getting to this point here tonight.
100%. Like, I love what both these teams managed to do here today. And I want them to come into the situation, whether they are still together on the same team or not, because obviously a lot can change in a few months for a team, whether it's its members, where it wants to play. But I hope we get the opportunity to see these players again, and hey, maybe they rise up the ranks. Maybe we see them in the Discord tier next season as well. Like, you never know. But at the end of the day, it's what you want to see from Overwatch. But while Overwatch is a lot to do with the players who compete here and give us something to cast in the first place, we have to thank everybody else as well. Of course, we have lovely production behind us. We had Knock, who ran things, but of course our observers, Vaati, Orange Beam, And it goes beyond even just us that are here right now. Everybody who has worked throughout the season, everyone who's going to work the rest of these finals this week, because this was just the first one. We still have 3 other finals, and if this is anything to say about how these finals are going to be, we are in for a very exciting week. So make sure to give all these players, all these production, everybody who's a part of this, and yourself, give yourself some love as well, because you are here witnessing these moments this season come to a close, and it's such an exciting, and for some people it's an emotional time. It's the crux of everything you've kind of put in, all the effort, all the time. It comes down to this, and no matter how the result goes, you should be proud of it 100%.
Absolutely. And one more thing before we close. I know at the beginning, Hunter, you called for us to make predictions. And I did win the call on the 7-map series, but you did win the call on Kingpins winning. So this was truly an incredible series to remember. So many heart-wrenching, stressful moments, but such an incredible experience. It was such an honor to cast with you tonight. And I'm so excited for the rest of this week. You're right, we have 3 more championship finals on the line, so be sure to tune in for those. But for Hunter and I here and all the rest of Tranquility, that is it for tonight.
Smash that. Thank you.